not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here. It's truly is a terrific Tuesday. It's an edition of Talk Today. We're going to have some open line at 1:30. The HSA Chief Pharmacist, Mr. Colin Medford, will join us. And of course, 2 p.m., the daily press briefing. But at 12:30, the excellent company of MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for sharing with us as we invite you to join us. 1-800-534-8255. Or if you can access our toll-free line, 949-8037. Likewise, you can send us your thoughts. I'm going to try something different today. I'm really honored that Miss Susan always at the forefront, making things happen. So if you send through a WhatsApp, maybe I can encourage you to read them for us, share with us. Who knows? We're going to work this out together. But share your thoughts with us. We've got a bunch of WhatsApps that we want to share with you, primarily as a result of the press briefing yesterday. It's great that the government is there and not just allowing the media to pose questions, but through the media, the wonderful work of Miss Donna and her colleagues, Ms. Caroline and the others, sharing the questions to the panel and then getting us answers as a general listening public. So we have a number of questions, in particular in relation to the pension fund as announced by our Premier yesterday. We're going to read some of those comments as well, and then have some open line. What better way to engage in discourse and dialogue to maybe even have a few people think outside of the proverbial box, questioning, the status quo, maybe championing what has been going on, offering up a sense of encouragement. So we want you to share your thoughts with us. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. To get things started, let me read a handful of sentiments that was sent to us in relation to the whole issue of the pensions. The first one reads, it says, by not limiting the pensions emergency early withdrawal to those individuals and self-employed people who are unemployed, the Cayman Islands government is threatening the viability of pensions in the Cayman Islands. The flood of redemptions to satisfy the large quote-unquote lump sum cash payments is likely to severely impact the assets of the pension funds. Already, there have been a flood of inquiries from employees and employers of advice and operating businesses, including those in the financial services industry who want to withdraw the maximum allowable based on yesterday's announcement. That was, as the Honorable Premier mentioned, $10,000 if you have that much, and then up to 25% of what's remaining. And so sadly, the floodgates are being flung open on pensions, except for the Public Service Pension Fund, due to ill-advised excessive exuberance. To add insult to injury, there is no mention of the pensions withdrawal funds being used to ensure that unemployed people can maintain their former group or new individual health insurance. If the assets of the pensions funds are severely impacted, the investment returns capability of the remaining funds will negatively impact the remaining contributors of private sector pensions. The lump sum withdrawals, in addition to being financially and operationally burdensome, will likely contribute to continued reckless spending by some people. It continues by saying, in an effort to provide short term financial relief with the current proposed formula, it is possible that a serious blow will be delivered to private sector pensions and retirement planning for many years into the future. Says, I trust that the CIG open-ended proposal will be reconsidered, provide a sufficient lifeline to those unemployed or close businesses now or within the next 6 months, but do not allow every business or every employee to withdraw now. All right, that was the sentiments of one of our listeners who wrote in. Those of you who want to weigh in on the pensions, you may be for it, you may be not sure, you may be certainly against it. Weigh in your thoughts. There'll be open line until 12:30, and Mr. Ezra Miller, he'll join us. We reach out to him via the telephone, and he'll share with us. We are trying to be as respectful and as responsive to the government's call to social distance, and hopefully together we can get through it. So Wayne, share your thoughts. Miss Susan is standing by as usual, not only to play great songs as Susan in the morning or for the afternoon, easy listening for us to enjoy and to be not just nurtured and comforted, but to be reminded of really came on. It's always there for all of us. So share your thoughts with us. 949-8037. And if you prefer and can access our toll-free line, well, of course, call us on 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Here are some other sentiments shared in relation to the pensions proposal, as we heard yesterday. It says, for many years, since 1999, the Cayman's political directorate, the National Pensions Board, and the National Pensions Office have been unable to raise the pensions contribution rate from 10% total to the Mercer recommended rate of 20%. So in 2020, in the height of the COVID-19 market's downturn, the Cayman Islands government would allow everyone in the Cayman Islands to quote unquote raid their pensions fund. So they promised that they will then seek to increase it by 1% per year for a few years to replenish the pension funds. Wow, good thinking. Another one reads, so with the tremendous amount of arrears and delinquencies at all plans with a 10% contribution rate since 1998, what package of magic will politicians use to convince employees and employers to pay a higher contribution rate in the future? So this is a pipe dream and politics at its best. Maybe the start of dismantling the private sector pensions and bringing a state-run pensions system. Sad. So as a non-income tax and no social security country, people only have their little pensions for their golden years. Even if government capped the COVID-19 emergency early withdrawal to $5,000 or $10,000, that may not be as dangerous. Well, what are your thoughts? What are your views? Certainly invite you to share with us. We will have the opportunity, even though Mr. Ezra Miller, the MLA, for that beautiful, tranquil, peaceful, just, an amazing community of Northside will join us via the telephone. We're still leveraging our technology that you can call in as well. We can have an ongoing discussion. Always grateful to have the opportunity to reach out to our sitting members of the Legislative Assembly and get not just their comments and contributions, but have the opportunity to have them share with us. Now, as you know, the Legislative Assembly will convene tomorrow. They'll make some, amendments, adjustments, suspensions of the standing orders, not just to accommodate the social distancing, but the businesses, of the House is on the way, the country will still be able to chance. So we're going to pause, take a short break. When we come back, hope to be able to, by telephone, connect up with Mr. Ezra Miller, with him, and hear some of his sentiments. As you know, he's a scientific mind, trained pharmacist by profession, former member of, well, at that point, they're called a EXCO member for health, now the Minister for Health, but get a chance to share with our sitting members of the Legislative Assembly. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
The public is advised that all public beaches will be closed throughout the Cayman Islands for a full 24-hour hard curfew from the 17th of April to 5 a.m. 1st of May 2020. This means persons are prohibited from entering on, walking, swimming, snorkeling, fishing, exercising, or any type of activity on any public beach during these times. Private owners with beach access are not permitted beyond the high water mark. Stay home to save lives, Cayman.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Essential staff, police officers, immigration, customs, doctors, nurses, first responders, they are essential staff. So if you got to ask, then you ain't. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And on the line, as promised, a man to his word, MLA Mr. Ezra Miller. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing well. Staying home, staying safe. How about you and yours?
Well, likewise, we're home safe and blessed. And I'm grateful to you for taking time to share with us. And as a result, hopefully the listening public, not just the voters in our country, but all of us who are here now, are becoming more and more involved and interested in what elected members of the Legislative Assembly, are doing, will be doing, and with the House convening tomorrow, it's always great to have someone like you share with us. But I know there's more going on, so thank you very much for your time this afternoon, as much as you were able to make yourself available to us.
Mm-hmm.
If I might, though, on a number of things, just start off with perhaps the most current, in a sense. We know that the Honorable Premier made the announcement. It wasn't by any means a surprise. It had been mooted for a while, that there'll be, once the House convenes, there'll be some amendments and adjustments to pensions legislation allowing some format of withdrawal or the like. Well, we know that you've penned a piece within one of the media houses as well. Could we start with that first, perhaps, and get your perspective on it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but yes, I did a viewpoint for CNS on my concerns about the pension cash drawdown. I have never supported the depletion of one's person's pension by cash withdrawal for any purpose. I didn't do it, didn't support it when they did it for the mortgage, and now we're talking about doing it to replace income for people who are unemployed. I assume it's for people unemployed, but I don't know. I don't have the bill before me, so I don't know what's proposed, right?
Right.
But I'm hoping. I certainly hope that it does not relate to anybody who's currently getting paid and has a job. If you're employed by the essential services, for instance, this amendment to the pension law that would allow a cash withdrawal should not apply. It should be for those people who are no longer getting income as salary.
Well, as we recall what the Honorable Premier shared yesterday, it does not apply to civil servants, so not to the public sector. But, or if you understood it correctly, if you are a pensioner, so you are already drawing from an active pension fund, it doesn't apply to you. But anybody else who's in a private sector pension fund, whether you're working now or not, you can presumably apply, get $10,000 maximum, and then up to 25% of the remaining balance, assuming you have that much in hand.
But, you see, here's the problem I have with many of the decisions that government takes. We are not identifying the problem that we are solving. The problem is the problem is income replacement, yes, but it is income replacement because people are no longer working because the government has closed down the businesses because of the coronavirus pandemic in order to enforce stay at home, etc., etc., etc. So the problem is not that people need, the reason people need income is because they no longer have a job. So my position is that it would be a better solution, I believe, to come up with a scheme that allows the people to keep their jobs by assisting their employer to continue to pay them on the frequency of payment, whether that period of pay, I think, is referred to in the labor law, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, so that people can continue to live life as normal as possible, right?
Right.
So while I do not support cash drawdowns and putting in the hands of unemployed people a sum of $10,000 or more, which is supposed to keep them until this epidemic is over. Because we are all humans and we are going to find reasons to spend the money. How many of us get a salary increase and figure, well, okay, I've been living off of $2,000 a month and I was living comfortably. My salary is going to $3,000. I should be able to save $1,000 a month. But it never happens. Magically, your expenses expand to consume the additional $1,000, right?
And
So
then
you still
some.
don't pay it, right?
Yeah.
Now, my biggest fear is that we cash in pensions, which we're going to lose according to certain references on the international market, unless the funds that you are going to draw down are in local CD deposits. You are going to lose substantial value if you are cashing in, whether that's stock, items on the stock market or treasury bonds, etc., etc. Because most economists are those people are saying you lose anywhere between 30 to 40 to 50%, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to take that and wipe it out, because if you have less, my understanding is, I didn't get to listen to the total press briefing yesterday. And yes, the Premier did talk to me on Friday about it. And I told him that I did not support a cash advance. And what I would like to see is to get the pension companies, the pension plans, and then what we have, 4 or 5 of them, Chamber, Silver Touch, Fidelity, British Caymanian. I'm not sure whether BAF still runs. There may be 1 or 2 more.
Right.
But get the plan itself to invest pension money in local commercial banks, which can be on lent to employers for the purposes of salary replacement for the next 6 months. Because if we're not out of this quagmire, we're our local domestic economy. I will grant that it's going to take longer to bring back the international side of the economy that relies on tourism and people coming and all that sorts of stuff. But if small businesses are not in a position in 6 months from now where they can open and start generating revenue to pay their staff, then because the problems are way beyond our capacity to deal with. So,
I know you had shared a couple of weeks back when you're on with us, you're similar to the you shared on the viewpoint about the money being in the pension funds, then the banks could online and the spread. And like, I want to ask you about that as well. But before I do, maybe I could invite a comment if you're comfortable with it. The Honorable Premier yesterday shared that there is an expectation that if the pension fund withdrawal was allowed, there could be as much as 500 million, $500 million into the local economy. Now, just a thought process that was shared with us. If we go on the premise that X percentage of the people who will access the pension fund are work permit holders, if we're seeing on an annual basis, hundreds of millions of dollars being remitted overseas. Jamaica is probably 50, 80 million, Philippines, not that much different. So a lot of money being sent overseas. Is it then conceivable that of that $500 million, that maybe 50%, 80% potentially could be remitted to other jurisdictions? Any concerns that would not give us?
And that will remove it from our domestic economy, where we need it to circulate in order for businesses to survive.
Right. Because we're hearing constantly and understandably, the people here who are here working and they want to support their families back home, wherever that is, have been using the money transfer businesses. And because they're not open, they're challenged to get money back home to their families who have, in need of that money, who have relied on them. That's why they're here. So if we have the pension funds available to them, one would imagine that some, if not all, would also be sent back as well.
Yeah.
No.
And that increases the risk that a substantial portion of the funds will not be available to have the multiplying effect in the local domestic economy, and that's what we're going to have to concentrate on, certainly for the next year, if not beyond that.
Okay, so could we then ask of you, for those who either A, do not recall your comments with us a few weeks back when you talked about utilizing the pensions fund, some of your position you've maintained for a while, or have not had a chance to read your viewpoint on CNS as you referenced, you talked about, could you expound a little further for us, the pensions money being provided to the banks who then on lend it, and their I guess in a sense, collateralizing.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, you know that my position has always been that we're the only country in the world that I'm aware of that forces the citizenship and its labor force to save 10% of their salary for a pension, and then the law basically mandates that that be amended, be invested somewhere else instead of it being invested in the local economy to generate growth, right?
Right.
Because one of the things that our economy does not have is cheap long-term money, right?
Nope.
So let's take an example.
Okay.
Suppose,
so,
let's say I'm making $2,000 a month. I had a job. I was making $2,000 a month. My employer has laid me off, so I no longer get the $2,000 a month. I estimate that it will take 6 months to get the domestic bring up. So what I'm proposing is, in my case, my employer would be, first of all, we would get the pension plans, the 5 or 6 of them, to invest several million in CD deposits on a 15-year plan at the local commercial banks. My employer would be able to go to his bank and say, look, my business is closed because the government has closed me down, and I need to continue to pay my staff. Here is my February emoluments for the year. What I need is for you to fund my salaries, including the salary for myself as owner, for the next 6 months. And we say to the bank, when we put the 50 million or whatever number, because we're supposed to be one of the top financial centers in the world. We're putting together deals for people all over the world on a daily basis. The financial industry in this country should be able to sit down and figure this out in less than 24 hours, you know.
There's trillions of dollars here, right?
Okay, but so he would get, let's say so we put the money at the commercial bank, and we say the commercial bank has to insure the pension fund so that they're guaranteed, they don't disappear. It has to, they will pay the pension plan 0.5%, because the percentages are very low now, and they will lend it to my employer at 1% on a 5-year loan, but a 1-year moratorium on both principal and interest, so that my employer has a year to get the business back up and generating before he starts to repay this loan. What is the quantum? Quantum of the loan is my salaries for my small business for the month is $5,000. So I need 6 months, 6 times 5,000, right? I need to borrow $30,000 from this fund on that 5-year mortgage. And I need you to fund my monthly checks as I write them now. All employers have relationships with the bank, whether they pay them by check, whether they pay them by going in and get cash, or they pay them by direct deposit. Because the biggest problem with this 10,000 magical number, right, is it's not related to people's income.
Right. No, I hear your perspective on, giving the money now and it's gone in short order. We have a break to take. We have a caller joining us. Could we do that, but also ask of you at some point, well, 6 months down the road, the economy is still closed. How is the employer going to repay? What happens if there's a default? And those things. Could we get into that a little bit as we continue our discussion? All right, we're going to pause, take a short break. We'll take your calls. We continue talking to MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
For nearly 20 years, Kingsport Center has been the heart of the Cayman fitness and wellness community. In order to ensure the welfare of all, we are temporarily closed until further notified by the Cayman Islands government that it is safe to reopen. During these trying times, we encourage everyone to maintain a healthy lifestyle, mind, body, and soul. We look forward to continuing providing you with world-class service in the very near future. Remain strong and continue to show the world the power of Cayman unity. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Saturday, March 7, made a difference to 601 persons who benefited from a free mini medical including diabetes, blood pressure checks, and other conditions. Through your generosity and participation, Rotary Central Health Check 2020 made the difference to 7 persons, directing them to immediate medical attention and treatment. 240 persons were referred to their physicians for care and guidance. 93 persons were screened as new blood donors, new lifesavers. With your kind assistance, March 4 and March 5, Rotary Central hosted 20 healthcare professionals, physicians, nurses, and pharmacists from 8 countries, including the Cayman Islands. They completed Part 1 training to qualify as Caribbean Certified Diabetes Educators. The Rotary Central Health Check 2020 and the Rotary Diabetes Educators Program, doing our part, helping our community to stay healthy. Remember, keep your distance, keep safe, keep faith, stay home. Rotary Club Central. Together we shall overcome.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened, separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We have the excellent company of MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller. Mr. Miller, thank you very much, sir, for staying with us and sharing your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. What I want to say before we go any further, listen,
yes,
my knowledge of banking and these financial arrangements is limited. But we have many people in Cayman who are smarter than me that can figure this out. And even you mentioned, well, what happened in the case of defaults, etc., etc. That's part of what I was saying. We should have the funds insured. There needs to be a risk assessment. But again, we have the expertise to do this. Maybe the government can guarantee 30% of the funds, as it does now for housing mortgages. Mm-hmm. But the important thing is that we need to protect people's pension money. An arbitrary $10,000, but one of the questions that I have to ask is, why $10,000? What is that related to? If it's related to salaries, for some people, it's only 3-month salaries. For other people, it may be 4, it may be 5 months, right? But are they going to get this on a monthly basis based on their salary that they were getting before? Or are they going to just get cash a check to go to the bank in cash, and they spend it however they wish.
Yeah. Is it an arbitrary amount, or is it actually based on some sustainable amount, as you said, over a period of time?
Right.
All right.
And I think that's what we have to address. We have to address the need for Caymanians and other people working in this country who are no longer employed, and find a way to continue to keep them employed so they get their period of their salary that they were getting for the first 3 months of this year. Mm-hmm. So they can continue to pay their mortgages, so they can continue to pay their electricity bill, their light bill, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Well, I hear you, and I certainly may weigh in, but let's take this other caller. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Good afternoon to you and Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Not too bad. Mr. Miller, I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
If a person had worked for the government and they went to jail for over another decade now, and if they come back out of jail now, do they have access to their pension?
Well, it depends on because the government pension system carries with it what's called a vesting period. As long as, and I think it's 10 years, but don't hold me to that because they change these things on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. As long as you had worked 10 years and you had vested your pension, you are still entitled to your pension. If you were like me, who only worked for government for 6 years and therefore didn't vest my government pension as a civil servant, you don't get it, you're not entitled to anything. All you will get then is the gratis that they have amended the regulations to allow the pension board to pay out.
Okay. Well, I've been past 14 years, so.
You worked for government for 14 years.
Yeah, and I went to prison.
You were employed, permanent, and pensioner, but then your pension should be there.
Okay, but what I was saying is, so I should be able to get access to that now.
Depends on your age.
On my age now.
Yeah, because the government pension plan doesn't allow you to retire unless for medical reasons. Under 65, I think is the last number we changed it to. So if you're 65 or 66, yes, you can apply for your pension.
Oh, okay, sir. That's all I wanted to clarify that.
No problem, man.
But one last question. I just gave a call to a pension place in Grand, get my private pension, and they told me once I fill out the paperwork and do everything else, it would take 60 to 90 days to get the pension in these times.
Well, because it's not going to be, if they have to, if the volume of money is beyond what is deposited locally, then they have to go into the international market and liquidate your pension investments, and that takes time. I'd be surprised if they got it done within the 60 days, if that's where they have to go. Now, again, the amendment for the pension depends, again, on the volume of money we're talking about. Maybe you should say that the pension plans have to borrow money locally against your investments if they don't have the investments, if they don't have the cash here to do it. So you can get paid by the end of, within the next 2-3 weeks.
Okay. That's all I had to say. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Miller, I really appreciate you sharing, because I think for some who may recall, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when you were the member for health, had responsibility for pensions, this is something that you've been advocating in terms of how we should look at our pensions.
I did my postgraduate thesis, 1977, on national health insurance for the Cayman Islands. So I've been around this social benefits for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the times, this is an opportunity now. These times provide for maybe people to think.
Here's the problem again, right? Is that the government hasn't, and whether you want to recognize that I have some experience or expertise in it or not, the government is not coming to us as legislators and says, listen, this is a problem we need to address. We're thinking about this. How do you think? They're coming with us with all the decisions being made, and you must now approve this.
So who is the government, respectfully? I mean, who is the government?
The government should be all 19. The executive, which is the cabinet, and the party that has the most seats, is the governing executive body, so to speak, run the day-to-day stuff. But we should all be involved in these decision making. I mean, one of the things that I hope the governor is going to explain today is why is there 6 or 7 military people coming on the next flight, BA flight from the UK?
Yeah,
I want to know what the explanation is at, and is this something that the National Security Council has considered and approved? I don't know.
Yeah, and what is that? Well, I wouldn't mind asking you about that because, again, an opportunity just to ask questions.
I don't know anything about it. All I know is what was said on the thing yesterday.
Respectfully, and if it's inappropriate to ask, forgive me, but was that the first you've heard about that announcement then?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, maybe we can speculate some more, maybe not. And, one of the questions that we could ask, pick up on your last point,
I don't want to be accused of being Trumpinian here and diverting the conversation. Let's get back on pension. The key,
let's take the pensions.
Right. My overriding and overarching concern here is that people have been contributing to their pension plans. Now, we started pensions in 1998. We should have started in 1992 when I put proper legislation before Parliament, but it was never taken up. Since 1998. So working Caymanians have been contributing 10%, and for some people, that may be $20, $30 a week, right? For the last 18 years, hoping to get a pension when they get 65, right? If we allow them or other people other than them to withdraw all of this cash now from the total pension that's being invested out there, everybody's going to get hurt,
Yeah.
Because I know how to tell you, this is your area of expertise. The volume of returns is often linked to the volume that is invested.
Yeah, it's going to impact everybody. All right. We have news, and let's take that before we get in more trouble with Ms. Susan. But we'll continue pensions and discuss that after the break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The governor has agreed to remit the sentences of a number of prisoners and to repatriate them to their home countries. Using the prison director's existing powers, a small number of prisoners coming towards the end of their sentences have already been released. Government says in order to safeguard the health of prison staff and prisoners alike and to enable better adherence to the policy of social distancing, the prison director is taking steps to reduce the prison population in a manner that presents, quote, no risk to the general public. Good afternoon. I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump has said he will sign an executive order to temporarily suspend all immigration to the U.S. because of the coronavirus. On Twitter, he cited the attack from the invisible enemy, as he calls the virus, and the need to protect the jobs of Americans, but did not give details. It was not clear what programs might be affected and whether the president would be able to carry out the order. And the price of a barrel of Brent crude, the UK benchmark for oil, has slipped below $20, its lowest level since 2002. The close to 20% slump follows negative prices being recorded for a barrel for West Texas Intermediate, the benchmark for U.S. oil. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And again, a special thanks to MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller, for sharing some of this afternoon with us. Mr. Miller, you're always gracious with your time, sir, and your experience and expertise always benefit from your counsel.
Yeah, well, this is the part of this political part that I enjoy, interacting with the people.
Well, end of the day, this is how
I catch a lot. I catch a lot of criticism about it, but at least I'm willing to expose my flank, so to speak, and say this is what I think. Or what do you think? And that's all I'm trying to do with this article, this viewpoint that I put out on CNS. I want to stimulate a discussion amongst the intellectuals in Caymanian, so that we can find ways to do these things. Because the other side of this, is that I have always advocated that the majority of the pension funds collected here should be invested locally. But if we take this quantum of money from how the pension plans invest them in CDs, and the reason why I'm saying 15 years is because 15 years is not a long term when you're talking about pensions. Most people will work 40 years before they draw their pension down, right?
Right.
The other angle of the 15 years is that this short-term financing for businesses for salary replacement is on a 5-year loan. The banks, having reduced what their normal profit would have been on those kinds of soft loans, I guess I'll call them for just a soft is a nice word these days, soft curfew and hard curfew. So soft loans, they can use the extra 10 years of that deposit to fund their hard loans, where they would make their normal commercial profits from. You see?
Right.
So we're asking them to just defer their profit motive for a couple of years.
So save it now because of the sacrifices that the country, individual, so corporately, everyone has to make. Could we, in speaking to this issue of what maybe the intent in allowing access to pensions to whatever extent, respectfully, I have not been able to answer this question, but more respectfully than that, I have not deliberately have not sought yet to get an answer. But we know that the government, through the Commerce Minister, Mr. Hugh, announced almost 15 million plus whatever else was there as a rescue for some of the businesses. A number of people have said, well, this money is going to be used to pay salaries as well. And a number have questioned, well, where is the transparency in this? Who's getting it? How are they getting it? What is it for? And the like. Because
and what are the conditions?
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I heard that they were talking about, but again, what's magic about 15 million?
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Miller, we have a couple other callers as well, but maybe we can. Let's do it. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling. Good afternoon. Welcome. Yes, you are. Thank you very much for calling us.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions, kind of off the subject a bit, but I was wondering the Cuban doctors that were coming down. Are they still coming? Are they here? Or what's the word about them?
I don't know, but I promise you this. I will send an email asking that question on the Cuban doctors. Okay, what was your other question? I don't want to be disrespectful to you, but I know Mr. Miller has other things. We have a guest at 1:30. I want to stay on topic on the pensions because of the LAO.
What are the stats on Cuba now? I mean, how many people have caught the disease? How many are dead or what?
I don't know, sir. I really don't know. I had something the other day that we shared, but Cuba, I think, is a fantastic, phenomenal people. The country has an excellent infrastructure for education and health, and they've been leaders in their humanitarian efforts globally. So maybe we can reach out to get it. I know I had some. In fact, one of our listeners, I'm sure, are going to send me my personal WhatsApp the latest stats on Cuba, so we can get that probably before the show is out today, and I'll get the other question asked for you as well. All right, we hit the next line for the next caller. Good afternoon, welcome. Good afternoon, thank you for calling.
Good, Sergeant.
Hey, Mr. Kimmerbacker.
Sergeant, good. Number one, you kick, sir.
Good to hear you, sir. We have Mr. Miller with us as well today, too, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Miller, Lord, I'm sorry for you.
Number two. Okay, number two. Number one is in town now, so number two got to back up a little bit, all right?
You was 1 to 10, so we don't even worry about that.
Yeah, move down. I can move your chair down the road.
You can bring any chair, but don't sit down there, you might break it.
All right.
Hey, Dan, I just want to say something.
Yes, sir.
Up at Faith Hospital, you cannot go inside and collect your refills. You have to be walking outside under some sort of shade in sand. I'm putting this to Juliana Connor, to Moses Connell, and to the Minister of Health. Either put some cement walkway there or put plywood and fix it down right so people can walk properly up at Faith Hospital so they don't have to fall down, go and get the refill of medication. Okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. I don't want to take up much of your time because I know what you're saying, but what your program about. That just going out to the trade of Juliana Moses and whatever that Minister of Health name, I think he named Minister of Wealth. Get the thing going, fix the walkway good. People is going to slip down, then when somebody hurt themselves out there, and they're going to get sued.
All right. Well, maybe the Minister for Planning too could have the public works section address that. And again, you bring it to our attention, so hopefully it'll be acted and, as you shared, make it safe for everybody who's using it to go get their medicines.
Have a good day to all of you.
Thank you, sir. You too. But, Mr. Miller, I mean, not to get off point, but this whole idea of how we are now being socialized and forced in the short term to live in a certain way, you know, we have to be mindful that it's not just the economics behind this, is what is going to happen if and when there's a recovery, and what is that going to look like, you know, for our people, health-wise, mentally, as well as physically.
Well, I haven't heard anything public, but I certainly hope and pray that the Minister of Finance has a similar committee advising him as the Premier has, or the Minister of Health has advising him and the Premier, so the Minister of Finance should have an equally knowledgeable and expert committee advising him and the Premier on how to limit the damage to the economy and how we're going to come back out of this quagmire that we put ourselves into for medical reasons. It could never be, but I agree with the Premier that the first order has to be the health and saving lives.
Right.
We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And that committee should be meeting and coming up with ways, and those are the kind of people that should have been the ones that were looking at this employment continuation program rather than just looking at what seems to be topical and expected and everybody wants to draw the cash of their pension plan.
Indeed. Well, I must share, if this is inappropriate, people can publicly tell me, but it was refreshing, not just reassuring, but you felt a sense of, you know, sincerity when the Honorable Finance Minister, Mr. McTaggart, together with Mr. Jefferson, the Financial Secretary, was on the other day with us saying, here are the numbers that we have. We've now completed financial statements at the end of March. This is what we know. This is what we're projecting. This is what we projected. This is what it is. And that was helpful for those who want to understand the numbers in terms of the impact to the government's budget, the proposed expenditures that may come up. And I think that sort of disclosure
was valuable, and I agree with it. But the missing component there was that he did not announce that I have set up a committee to look at how to control to what extent we can the damage to the economy, and to look at how we're going to get back out of it. It's okay to have the council government, and that is that's of course, but we need to go beyond that.
All right. See, we didn't know that, so maybe we can talk about that. Mr. Miller, let us join this other caller. Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing okay, and how are you?
Very, very thankful. Thank you for sharing some of your things this afternoon.
Okay, so you're welcome. One, I want to would like to get Mr. Miller's views in terms of having an appreciation of the present day and future value of money. That's number one. Number two, in terms of a pension investment, the pension investment is done from, and I'm not going to have experience in this, but I have conceptual knowledge. So from the little that I know, in terms of pension is invested in securities like stocks, bonds, CDs, mutual funds, hedge funds, etc.
depending on your mix and your tolerance and the like. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be a diversified portfolio. And this diversified portfolio is expected to get the best return on your investment, and hence a portfolio. So if you lose out on one, then there's an opportunity to catch up or make it from the other side of investment. But based on the economy now, in terms of the mutual funds, stocks, bonds, CDs, etc., the bulk of interest one would obtain is through like stocks, mutual funds, etc., and CD would obtain the less in terms of return. So there's an average about, from my checks and balances, they average about 7 to 8% loss on the investment at this time. Also, have you have a look at your statement, pension statement within the last month or two? If you have a look at that, then you'd realize that your pension has been replenished from about average 7% drop in your pension. Or if hypothetically, if we have $100,000, look at somebody who works $500 per week. $500 per week for that's $2,000 per month.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. There you are.
That will be like about over a 40-year period. That person would have $100,000 in his pension fund. Now, if based on the economy at this stage, 7% loss would be like $7,000 over one period. The next period would be like May. Over two periods, that person would lose about $14,000 from a $200 pension.
But that's compounded though, right? I mean, that's a cumulative loss each month, right? So it wouldn't be 40,000.
I'm talking about an average.
Okay, right.
Even worst case scenario, put it between $10,000 and $14,000 in terms of a loss over the 2 year period of time. It will take about 17 months, between 15 to 17 months worth of savings, which has been replenished in a quick succession. It is best people get access to their funds at this point, rather than the money that is invested that you should be looking for in the future has been replenishing, going back into stocks and bonds and etc. And you're losing out when it could be pumped in the economy. Or it is best you even export the money if you have to export, at least the money that you work and save for, it is have some use to steer the economy. And otherwise, because other persons and other families want to live as well.
I hear your argument, but two things. First, the last statement that you saw for your pension fund, today is what, April 21st. Did you see your statement as at the end of January, end of February, end of March? How recent was your last statement?
Okay, so mine for the end of February.
Okay, end of February. So 2 months already behind, right?
Right. So the next one will be May.
Right, but you seen at the end of February it was already down according to what you saw. So if we're seeing that 3 months hence, so 3 months from now, potentially is when this thing will be settled. So you've gone half of the year. Potentially that loss is what you're saying could even be less because of how the stock markets, international stock markets are performing.
Right.
Right. So if you end up losing 50% or 30% of your pension fund right now to cash it in. Let's make it easy. Let's say you have 100,000 in the pension fund, and you cashed it in last year this time, so you'd have got 100,000, but you cash it in now, you get 50,000 or 70,000. Are you prepared to take that amount of loss now, as opposed to waiting 5-10 years? Tomorrow is not promised to anybody, understand that, but waiting that time with the hope that you could make up some of those losses. Are you willing to take the loss now and forego future earnings?
So this is how I look at it. If I understand your question correctly, one, based on what is happening now and based on the economy will not see a turnaround in the economy until about I put it by earliest the end of this year.
Based on what? I mean, it could be longer.
It could be longer, and I said worst case scenario, the earliest based on the end of this year. If the pensioners continue to invest into those investments overseas, which the United States economy is in a turmoil state right now. So what is going to happen is that our money is benefiting their economy because they're benefiting from us. We're operating at a loss in terms of our investment, and that money that is pumping into that economy can pump into our economy. So it would help persons who
Mr. Miller was saying that perhaps we should have allowed to ensure the vehicles exist so that the local pension funds, the billions of dollars in our pension funds, could be invested in our economy. Mr. Miller, I don't wish to exclude you from the discussion if you want to weigh in, sir.
But quite honestly, I mean, present value and future value of money that is above my pay grade, right? My concern, my question I want a response to the caller is, why would you cash it out at the lowest point?
Mm.
Because unless you're retiring this year, right?
Let me interject, Mr. Miller. All right, May 23rd, the United States Congress had approved up to 100,000 withdrawal from 401k. All right, that's number one. Number two, we do not pay tax, so we do not have tax return.
Direct taxes.
You understand? Direct taxes, rather. Even Jamaica economy, which is far worse than Cayman economy, you can request for tax return. There are incentives that you can request from your savings. Here, you cannot do it. So now we are in a position, we are in a dire situation. It will be best we get access to a part of our pension, utilize that money, rather than that money goes back into the system and at a loss. It doesn't make sense.
I hear you, and I do apologize, Ms. Susan.
The question I have is, how do you plan to replace that pension drawdown in order to maintain a reasonable pension when you retire?
All right, so we'll look at it two ways. One, even if from a worst case scenario point of view, it cannot be replaced, it would be also better you obtain that money now, you benefit from it now, rather than the money still deplenish and you still do not benefit from it. Because if you leave the money in the pension plan, you're going to operate at a loss. Because if you look at the stock market is in a turmoil. All securities are in turmoil.
But most people will tell you that the turmoil in the stock market is a temporary thing. 4 or 5 years from now, it'll be back up and booming again.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Nothing is guaranteed. I agree with that.
Right.
But anyway, I think that you should have access to be able to use the pension money, but I think we should be smart enough to allow that use of the pension money in a way that retains your pension.
Okay. All right, gents, we have a quick break to take. Respectfully, let's do that. Stay tuned, please.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Need to make an essential outing for personal care items or prescription refill? Make ValueMed Pharmacy your stop for essential products. Open daily under new curfew restricted hours. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or in Boddentown. Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Boddentown location opens at 8:30 a.m. and on Sundays and holidays 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. A maximum of 3 customers allowed in store, and customers are encouraged to maintain social distancing while shopping. For faster prescription service, order online through value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman. Coronavirus prevention tip. What is coronavirus? The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is a new strain of coronavirus that has not been previously identified in humans. What are the symptoms? Common symptoms include respiratory symptoms of fever, cough, shortness of breath, breathing difficulties. In severe cases, coronavirus can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and kidney failure. How soon do symptoms occur? Symptoms occur 2 to 10 days after a person has been exposed. Is there a vaccine against coronavirus? Currently, there is no vaccine to protect against COVID-19. When a disease is new, it takes up to a few years for a new vaccine to be developed. For information, you can email questions to flu@hsa.ky or call one of the hotline numbers of 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/coronavirus.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. We're honored, honestly, to be able to always access our members of the Legislative Assembly. In particular, Mr. Miller has always been gracious. So thank you, sir, again, for making yourself available to the listening public.
One of the other things that I want to remind the public who are so gung-ho on taking cash out of the pension plan, it was 2010 that we changed the law to allow for people to draw down for their mortgages and home ownership up to maximum $35,000. The law also there required, in that same section of the law, that anybody who got that money was supposed to increase their contributions by 1% from the first month after they got the drawdown. Mm-hmm. What I would ask the current pension plans is to tell the public, the public, how many of those persons who got that drawdown 10 years ago have restored their pension money. Mm-hmm. And why has not the pension regulators, the government-appointed regulators of the national pension law, insisted that these things be done? Because we go ahead now and give them another cash advance. We're elected to put a similar rider that we expect you to pay something back. I think somebody told me that the Premier mentioned something about some increase in your contribution rate. We have it in the current law, putting it 10 years ago for people got it. The question we need answered now is how many people, and has the pension regulators monitored? We don't need to publish people's name, right? We just need to publish whether 5%, 100% have done what they were supposed to do under the law. Right. Because if we do not secure people's pension, most of the pension under these private schemes, not going to give people a pension they can live off of when they get 65. They will still have to be supplemented by NAU, but we need to reduce the supplement that comes from NAU. Otherwise, there's a huge cost to that if we don't regulate these pension funds properly.
Well, there's something else too, as you were sharing with respect to pensions, and in a bit we will join Mr. Colin Midford, the Chief Pharmacist at HSA. But Mr. Miller, as you were sharing, it was only recently that we made the amendments to the pension legislation that sort of did away with the system that created sort of a deferred savings plan for those who were on a work permit, that they could, if they were leaving the jurisdiction, access their pensions and take it with them as a lump sum, right? Deferred savings, right?
And what people were doing when they were going home for, when they were taking a rollover, or they would go home for a couple of months, say they're not coming back, in the middle of it, draw out their cash, go home and spend it, and come back and get another job and start over.
Yeah, or use it for some other thing else in their economies. Now, but the other thing too, my understanding is that if you are a public servant, right, you're employed with the public sector, you leave, right, you can transfer your pension to your private sector pension, a new private sector pension fund. But if you're in the private sector, you can't take those accumulated funds and transfer them to your public sector pension fund. Now, portability should be portability. If I can take it from one to the other, I should be able to take it from the other to one, right? Why is it?
The problem with the problem with portability is that same investment mix that the previous caller was talking about differs for every pension plan, and the value of a unit. Again, all this is above my pay grade, but I understand that your pensions are valued according to unit depending on your investment mix and your investment return. The value of units in the government pension plan may be completely different, right, from what's in the private sector. So portability, although the pension legislation says that portability is supposed to be possible, I don't know too many people that have actually got it portable. And again, I don't know of anyone who has left the civil service for and their pension was vested and they transferred it to a private sector pension.
Yeah, but the value, despite the mix, I mean, I don't want to get into it because I'm not an expert by any means, but if your pension fund has 100,000 and you go in from government to company in the private sector, you should be able to move that money over. If you're coming from the private sector and going to government, you're 100,000.
Oh, I agree. If you say we have portability, it has to be universal, both ways, everywhere around. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Miller, we always enjoy your company, and not just because of your graciousness, but you bring a lot. And as you shared, you may expose your flank. Is that how you put it? But at least we encouraging people to think, to talk, and maybe in this time, we have time on our hands. We can do a lot of things, including exercise. We can't seem to get outside and go in the seat, but maybe we can start thinking, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Now,
Okay,
before
thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And hopefully,
Thank you very much.
Needed some discussion and some alternatives are going to be looked at rather than just a simple cash withdrawal that can be spent in how you want it. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good.
You're most welcome, sir. Good afternoon to you. Stay safe. All right, Ms. Susan, do you want us to take a break, or we can jump into the line and welcome Mr. Colin Midford? Just continue and take a break. Okay. All right. So I was hoping one of these days that I can get Ms. Susan to, you can engage her more because, man, she has so much more to offer. But the gentleman caller was there. So apologies, sorry, I did misunderstand. But you were there, you were listening. You had some more sentiments. Go right ahead.
Because I wasn't finished clearing up the point with Mr. Miller in terms of how.
My apologies to you, sir. Go right ahead.
That's fine. So he was asking how can the pension be replenished after economic up and running. So as he rightfully says, in terms of contribution, anybody who have gotten access to their pension, it is now mandatory that the contribution would be increased, maybe by 40%. So instead of a 5%, it would be like a 7% across the board. So we can actually increase the funds, the saving funds for the long-term investment. In doing so, one.
But let me ask you then, right? You there, sir?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. Let me ask you then, two things, and just looking at it from what we're hearing people generally speak. One, we understand employers and employees alike have allegedly shared that if they could, rather not make any pensions contributions because that money on a monthly basis is money that they could use to live on, right? So if they're struggling now with whatever deductions they're making, if they're being asked to make that plus a little bit extra to catch up, if they can't survive now, how do you think they're going to survive with the added deductions?
Okay, so this is it. As I said, when the economy revamps, because the economy will revamp. We have experienced this in 2008 recession. So, and we know that our economy has revamped. And if we look at the history over every 10-year period, this always happens. So if we plot a graph and we start look from 1980 right back to now, at the end of every 10-year period, and I start from the 90s. If you look, the internet was that new era within the 90s. 2008 to 2010, we have the recession kicks in. Now, if we look at another era, we look at the cryptocurrency, the digital currency era. So we look at the coronavirus era. Every 10 years, there's something drastically that has happened. The economy will have a turnaround within the next 3 years or so.
Based on what? How do you come to that conclusion?
How do I come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
The coronavirus, within an 18-month period, there will be a vaccine out. Worst case scenario, based on what is happening now in terms of research and all of that.
Right. So that vaccine is going to be the panacea, and that will be the cure-all. We all should take it and die, or don't take it and refuse it and die. I mean, why is that vaccine the panacea? Why is it that what we need? What is it?
Okay. So this is how investors think. Investors do not like to take unnecessary risk. And if there are uncertainties in the market, then there's a withhold in the market. Until there are some assurance, at least in the sense of a vaccine that is out there, then that's the time that the economy will be up and running again, start to improve. But for now, the economy will be on a reserve.
Let me ask you two final things, if I may, right? And I appreciate you willing to engage and think and talk loud and encourage others, right? So two final things. One, this particular issue that we're facing, this coronavirus thing, right? Compared to Ebola, SARS, MERS, and all the other things that we've had over the centuries and even the last couple of decades. What is it about this thing that has made the whole world, listen to the words that we've used, lockdown, right? We've fundamentally changed, we're socializing, we've put the economies globally in a tailspin. There's been loss of life, right? What is it about this thing that has made this thing that much more dangerous and has put us this, in your mind? Why?
So you're asking me why the coronavirus is more detrimental than all the other viruses that we have before?
Yeah. To date, all the things that we've had, what is it in your mind that are making this thing cause us to do the things we're doing now in every way, right?
Okay, so if we look at it, from all the virus, if we look at back on 1918, that was the Spanish flu virus. That was an era just like this era that we have now. If you realize, millions of people died then because they haven't have infrastructure in place and technologies like now. So we have a similar, a repeat of history. With the repeat of history, no other viruses since that time has affected the world like how the coronavirus now affects the world. If we look at it from a really political point of view, there are two major economical powers at war, China and the United States. China has now been demanding the economy because China is up and running. United States will not want to take second place. And if you look at Donald Trump, he's pushing to bring back the economy.
Okay, so the economics then and the politics is where you feel that are driving it, and this dominance for world power. So then maybe we can invite you on Friday to revisit that. Let me ask you another question. If the money was accessed for the pensions, right?
Mm-hmm.
From what you know, whether on your personal basis or within your sphere of influence, on a percentage basis, how much that money you think is going to leave the Cayman economy and be, as you said earlier, exported, sent overseas to other jurisdictions? And how much you think is there? So much.
So no one can answer that question. But as I said before, if we have to look at it from the right reason and not from the wrong reason. Because if you have, let me ask you this question. If you have $100 in the bank as an investment, and you have the ability to have access to 20% of that $100, and also you have no access to that $100, but you know for sure that your $100 is now depleted up to about 30% of that money. is going to be depleted. Which one would you rather?
Well, to answer you first, right? You shared nobody can answer the question. Just like what I was asking, how do you know 18 months or 3 years from now will be back up money? If you have enough money in the bank right now as liquid asset, unless you need it for something short term, I think you would be, better advised to put your money in something else because what you get, 0%. But why I'm asking you that is that I hear your point, and I think Mr.
All right,
Miller was.
let me finish the point then. So this is it. So I said this to say that it would be best you get that $30 and spend, whether you spend it in the local economy and everything. We have to look at it from a realistic point of view. I'm a Caymanian, you understand? So I'm a Jamaican by birth. I'm a paper Caymanian, okay? But I'm a Caymanian. So
for what it's worth, right? My view is if you're Caymanian, you're Caymanian. Whether you're like me and go back 5,000 generations, or whether like you gotta buy things. We all Caymanian. We in this together, man. All right?
Appreciate it. So this is how I look at it.
Uh-huh.
When everything's said and done, this economy is the economy that I would have to ensure that is in proper
this is really great butter, so we gotta make sure we paddle this canoe together. Is what you're saying, right?
But not because at the same time we cannot be selfish to say that if the money is not going to spend only in our local economy, then the money should go to waste because that's not fair.
No. I'm not saying that. What I was getting at is that when we were doing, you're talking about some of the economic implications, right? And for me, I hear your point. That's my money. Let me get access to it, whether it's in the bank otherwise, right? But the reason why I was asking is that if we don't understand the money multiplier, if we don't have a semblance of how much of that money will remain here, how much will be, exported to use your word, other places, we don't know the impact.
Look at this measure. One, you do not have to distribute the money on a lump sum basis. You do it on a monthly basis over a 6-month period, so it is guaranteed that the money will still stay in the economy. Or you give the lump sum payment, and if you get the lump sum payment as an expatriate, then you will return to your country, and after a 6 month or a year, you can come back you can apply back for a permit.
So I want to make sure I misunderstand you. You're saying that if you want a work permit now and you access your pension fund, I want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding you. You were saying the condition is, here's your pensions fund, but the condition is, here's your ticket as well, and you have to go back to wherever. Is that what you're saying?
So I talk about 2 points. For the local economy, because this is where we want the money to stay. So the money is being disbursed over a 6-month period in increments. So in that sense, the money will still goes back to, because what we do not want to lower the standard of living here. We want to ensure that, one, rent, your common utilities can pay rent, water, light, etc., food, and send a little stuff back to your family if you're expatriate. So the money will be spent back into the economy. The bulk of it will be spent back into the economy if the money is being dispersed over a period of time.
Yeah, but I mean, as I listen to you though, if the people who access the money, whether they're on work permit or not, if they access it, they should be able to use it how they want, right? And if I don't wish to disrespect the view you have in saying that's why I wanted to confirm it. If you said, well, we give you a pensions fund, but if you're on a work permit, then you got to leave. To me, that person may want to remain here, still supporting their families. I don't think that should be a condition of exit. Your money.
So no. This is the condition. If you're on work permit and you want the bulk, then you have 2 options. One, take a lump sum, and you take a break. That's one. Or you take it in increments, and over a 6-month period of time, and you will be here in Cayman just the same. So it's not a matter of if you. Sorry.
No. Okay. No, I hear you. It's an opinion. I just see that with people, like you said, people are people, and they got to survive. Now, I don't want to we do have a break and we have another segment, but I don't want to miss your point. But wrap it up for me, and then we can always get back to another day.
Yeah, we can continue at some other time. But the point that I want to bring across is it is best pensioners get access to their funds now rather than the funds are being replenished by 7% over each period, average 7%, which, as I said, 100,000, you lose an average of about $7,000 for over 3 months, which that 14,000 over 2 period of time could do miraculous thing into the economy.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I want to invite you and others to talk about this in terms of the economic implications, right? At our next open line segment, and equally, maybe talk about the impact of pensions administrators being able to still get money even though the pension funds are not performing. But thank you very much for that. We're going to pause. We'll take a break. When we come back, we can talk to our chief pharmacist if he's available. Hey, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Digicel is all about giving customers more convenience, more peace of mind, and more flexibility. Do more with the new My Digicel app. Buy plans, pay your bill, track your credit, track your data, and monitor your account. It's easy to use and has everything you need in one place. It's time to simplify your life, so go ahead and see for yourself. Download the new My Digicel app today. More made simple.
Home, which should be a haven, can even be less of a safe space during curfew if someone is experiencing child abuse. If you or anyone you know is being abused, help is nearby. For emergencies, call 911. They will redirect your call to the relevant agencies. For general guidelines and inquiries, call the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, MASH, at 1-800-534-2273 or 945-0545. Alternatively, email mash@gov.ky.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken share.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken share.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC, just $12 each, and it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman.
Rumors and misinformation will not help us tackle the coronavirus. Remember, you can check on www.gov.ky/coronavirus to see trusted and up-to-date guidance from the experts. This page is being continually updated and should become your first port of call for the facts. Please do your part to avoid scare tactics and fake news. This government is not complacent. We will continue to prepare tirelessly, make the necessary decisions required in the best interests of the health and safety of our people. You may feel worried, scared, or stressed about the serious nature of COVID-19, but we can and will overcome this public threat. Again, remember to cover your cough and sneezes, wash your hands often, and avoid close contact with persons, especially if they're showing signs of respiratory illness. Please stay safe, and may God continue to bless the Cayman Islands.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Back. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, the daily press briefing is slated for 2 p.m. as we've done before. If it's on time, we go to it. We got to take our news break sometime, and if it's not there, we'll come back. But let's take your calls and have you share your thoughts with us as you wish. We were expecting the chief pharmacist, Mr. Colin Midford, to join us. He would call in, so when he does, we will get him, But we know that the HSA entire staff, and in particular the pharmacy, they've been busy. If you've been there for any reason, to pick up a script, drop off a refill it, otherwise it's a challenge. So I believe I have this correct. The Smith Road operation, where His Excellency's office used to be, where the elections office used to be, that building, you pick up your prescriptions if they paid in full. HSA at the main hospital is still there. But let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Okay, we've got a caller. Hi, good afternoon. Are you able to hear me? Yes, sir. Are you there? Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, talk to me, man. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling back.
Yeah, I was listening to talk about pension, and I always wondered why the government does not have people take a good cash value life insurance instead of pension plans. Now,
okay.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Cash value life insurance. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, I used to work for life insurance for a while. Let's say a young man at 20 takes out a $40,000 policy, right? Now, 20 years down, when he's 40 and he got a young children, a family coming up, if he gets disabled, have waiver premium which the policy continues to pay. There's a cash value in the policy which you can use or use the policy as security in the bank to obtain money, which you pay back afterwards. And when he retires, if he still owes the insurance company, say $10,000, they just take it out of the total and gives them the balance, which being a lump sum or a monthly payment. Now, I don't know why that is not better than these pension plans they have. I mean, if he wants to leave the island, the policy is his. Wherever he goes, he still continue paying it, And while he's here, the company pay half and he pays half. They do with a pension plan. So if you can tell me why is this pension plan better than getting a good life insurance policy?
Well, from what I'm hearing you saying is that maybe this is an opportune time for us to look at the whole idea of how we provide for retirement for long-term savings 20, 40, 50 years down the road. Maybe, there isn't just the life insurance or the pensions. Maybe there is something innovative. Maybe there is something, that we haven't been apt to use before because it wasn't politically sort of expedient. Maybe this is not the time to put our heads together. Come back to Mr. Miller's point. So, we have a lot of money in the economy. We have a lot of financial experts. Could we not devise something that was, what's the word, bespoke for our jurisdiction that could be, innovative?
Yeah, government could even take an insurance company and cover everybody, and they're getting all the premiums. Like I said, if somebody was started when they're 20, now they're 40, and now they have this virus thing, maybe for a year he's not working. There's enough premiums in there that he can take out some and leave enough to continue paying the policy all the time until he gets back on his feet. And if he dies, you got the 40,000 families to take care of.
Which is what usually we see insurance for, right? Okay.
So I think the whole thing should be changed. A good cash value insurance is sent to the pension plans. Because I've guaranteed cash with the insurance, guaranteed amount that you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, it is. I think it's one thing that is very evident is that when we're looking at long-term savings, especially for retirement, 40 plus years down the road, many of us don't even take, 4 days ahead, much less 40 years from now. But it's also, apparent that maybe a lot of us aren't as comfortable with the idea of financial planning, of the strategies that we're, should be looking at, because maybe we say, no man is promised tomorrow. So do you think then that the approach for a country like Cayman, a relatively small population, 100,000 or 50,000, whatever the number is these days, uh, there are some schools and then companies with more people than we have as citizens. Do you think that our approach to this should continue to be on an individualized basis as we have now? What are your thoughts?
No, I say it's there. When you say a young man joined the company when he's 20, right? $40,000 policy is not too expensive at that time. Okay? If by the time he's 10 years, when he's 30, he's just got married and got a young child or something. If he dies, his family getting 40,000. Okay? If he lives, say in the 30 years now, when he's about 40 or 45, the children coming up the early teens or maybe like that, he needs some extra cash. There's cash value in the policy that he can withdraw maybe 10, 15,000 out of it and still leave enough for the payments to continue in the insurance.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
If he can pay it back. If not, he's still got his policy, still covered.
Perfect. Listen, thank you for sharing that. Right. Let me ask you to leave us there so we can take at least one more caller before we, may have to go to. So thanks for that. Let's go to the other line. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
Listen, I hope I never ever see the day that I'm ungrateful. I am very thankful and blessed.
That same here. Same here.
Amen.
Dwayne, I want to say some little thing here.
Of course.
Last gentleman that spoke, he had the right idea. The one before him sounds more like a lunatic. And sorry for that word. But he suggests that to replenish back the pension payment, we must now contribute 7%. And the employees 7%. Dwayne, where are we going to get 7%, especially the contractors, which I think is about a third of the industry here in this country? Where are they going to get, where those businesses are going to get 7%? And not just for one of their employees, but some of them got license to carry 10 men. You know the burden that is on those people? Listen,
the cash flow burden.
Government went the wrong way about retirement for their people. Okay? They went the wrong way. This is only making those fat cats downtown richer. It's a scam. And that's my opinion only. Okay? I worked in the United States and I paid 5% Social Security. I got friends that I worked with up there. I left them there in the 80s. They're retired now, and some of them are carried home $1,500 a month Social Security. Listen, the businesses never put no money in for me. I paid my own retirement fund. I paid for my own retirement called Social Security. Now, mega companies, big conglomerate companies or whatever they are, they will join this FO501, I think it is a pension.
401k?
401k, thank you. That's voluntary. A lot of Americans take vacations. They invest extra money in those types of investments, and they're not forced to do it. But if they realize that when they get older and they want to retire and travel the world, they have that extra money. But the money that the government controls is the Social Security for them. Dwayne, this pension is a scam. Number one, I think it was $68,000 top for the rich, for the millionaires. Come
Used to
on.
be 60,000, right?
Right. I think they moved it up to 70-something thousand. Now, come on. They're the same one that did this. They're the same one created this for the government back in 78 or whenever it started. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me now why they would do that. They should be paying their 5% on their million or half a million same way.
I hear you, man. And maybe this is, again, opportune time. Now, I would certainly not want to be, disrespectful. But because of news, you want to make your last thoughts for me?
Pardon? Yeah. Okay.
Have we lost the caller?
Why? I wonder why.
Not intentional. All right, Ms. Susan, so the news break, we'll take that. And if the press briefing starts, we'll go there. If not, we'll come back to me.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have, on Iowa.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
His Excellency the Governor Martin Roper announced at Monday's COVID briefing that a small military planning team would be deployed to the Cayman Islands next week. The team will provide planning and logistical support to the Cayman Islands during the COVID-19 crisis and as we enter hurricane season. 12 specialists will deploy in total in an advisory role, including medical planners, logistics experts, and security advisors. The team will be tasked with providing support in the coordination of essential medical supplies and personnel. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. A national virtual vigil will be held this week to honor the victims of Canada's deadliest shooting, which unfolded in Nova Scotia as the province was locked down due to coronavirus. Virus restrictions continue, and authorities said they would not be lifted to allow public gatherings to mourn the victims. At least 18 people were shot dead by a gunman during a 12-hour weekend rampage. The gunman was killed by police. And reports that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is seriously ill after heart surgery are not true. Officials in South Korea have said headlines that Kim Jong-un was gravely ill, brain dead, or recovering from an operation were always going to be impossible to verify. But the presidential office in Seoul has said there have been no particular signs from the North to indicate the 36-year-old is gravely ill. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Miss Susan, how are you? Are you willing to join me for a quick discussion as we wait for the news break? And now we go to the press briefing. Miss Susan?
Hey,
All right,
Sterling.
let's see if we can encourage her on.
Hey, Sterling, how are you?
There you go. Listen, thank you for all the hard work you're doing. And as we get into this norm of, tele-remote commuting business, working from a distance, how's it working for you? What do you think?
Pretty good, pretty good. You learn something new every day. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You're making this technology thing seem easy. So, but
So
thank you.
just to explain to the listeners, you're actually remotely hosting the show.
Yeah, well, Mr. Locks, the banks told me to remind people that I'm calling way from Rush Pond. I think that's what he said, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Edison Grass Peace, he said back in the old days, isn't this the beautiful part? I could be anywhere and I could still be here, you know. So remotely, not physically near you, but still grateful for all the hard work you're doing. Is it sounding and working okay for you from your end?
Sounding 10-4.
10-4?
Okay,
5x5?
Sterling, we
Yeah.
have a WhatsApp that just came in. It says,
Uh-huh.
"Good afternoon, Dwayne. Regarding pension, I think that money drawn from the pension by expats should have to pay a percentage worked out by the government before they receive it, and if they leave after it, they should not be able to return back to the island under 5 years." What do you think about that?
What was it Honorable Premier said? You want me to be undiplomatic, he said yesterday when it was on. No, but this is the thing though. I think Mr. Miller, and we're grateful he would come on earlier, but he said, listen, I want you to start thinking and talking, asking questions and creating a dialogue and a discourse with respect to what we do. Because pensions, like the caller earlier who said, listen, it's my money, it's losing money, I want it because I got something to do with it. I mightn't live to see whichever, I mightn't be whichever, right? But if a pension is designed for 40, 30, 50 years down the road as a way to help you when you're not, full-time employed, then what do you do now? And I think, unfortunately, a number of people, and if I may share, the former director of labor and pensions was a champion to say we need to look at this legislation, right? The notion that until the amendment recently, people who were on a work permit who left Cayman could access their pensions after a period of absence. They could still return to the country, but they had a deferred savings, right? Now, those who are here may have multiple pensions, but if they're not of retirement age, they can't access any of them if they're over a certain amount. So we need to kind of use this now to figure out what we do. This discussion is probably similar to the one that is going to be had with respect to countries who have now closed their borders to their own citizens, saying we don't want them back. So whatever you do with them, you do with them. What do we do? Because it becomes a humanitarian issue. We don't want people to be here without food and shelter, and it's not an easy fix. So, Ms. Susan,
Yes,
I know
yes, I'm listening to you.
it's something that has caused many of us to have some interesting debate, not just from a perspective of academia, but this is a real life situation affecting people in real time. And with the greatest of respect to any government, maybe the more minds that could weigh in on this, as opposed to just the elected people or the executive branch of the elected, or just their caucus or their wider group, maybe the more minds that can weigh in on this overall could be better for all of us because there isn't one single country as yet that hasn't been affected directly or indirectly by this thing. And is it, going to pass in 3 months or 3 years? Will it forever change the way we live, work, socialize on a personal level? The concern that I think we all start to recognize is not just a physical health, but our mental health. On an island, the inability to get outside, get the fresh air, to go to the beach, to fishing, something as simple as that we have taken for granted. There are many people who rely on the sea as a way to complement their dinner table, but as a way for them to recharge their batteries because they'll tell you they're not going catching, they're going fishing from
Right.
the food, so the noise. Right?
And it's turning as we await the government press briefing. It's coming up for you shortly. Let's take this call and see what they have to say.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Susan. Let's go to the phones.
Caller, you
Good
on the line?
afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Sterling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to Ms. Susan.
Thank you.
All right. I can hear you, Ms. Susan. Can you hear the caller? Because I
If
can't.
memory serves me correctly, today is Her Majesty's 94th birthday, I believe.
That's correct.
And also,
I did know that. Yeah.
Well done, Your Majesty. And also, it's the birthday of that gentleman who general of the army who became the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff of the most powerful, mightiest nation the history of this planet, General Colin Powell. It's also his 83rd birthday today. Sterling Green, I must
yes, sir.
My friend who called in about the situation what I've spoken about for so many years. We should have made this direct income tax from the very beginning. It should have been paid to the government. Nothing mandatorily taken out of your salary should be put in the hands of the private sector. And that's where we went wrong, as he said. I said it 22 years ago, and I constantly say it won't work. It didn't work, and it isn't working. We should have made it direct income tax. A small portion of your salary goes to the government, just like how he explained. In Canada, it's Canada pension and old age pension, 2 pensions, and everything is paid in your income tax. And you would have also an unemployment compensation tax that would be taken out for these same purposes. It goes for up to 6 months in the United States and Canada also, where you pay a small amount of your salary into unemployment compensation tax. And when you're unemployed, like how many people are now in the private sector, you would be receiving that benefits of that from the government. At no time during your working life is anybody more than 6 months or 9 months or a year unemployed. So the fund would be there, a huge fund. If we had just been paying $1 a day for each person from 22 years ago to the government, think of how much money would be in that fund right now. Just think about it. You don't have to be any mathematical genius to see the millions that would have been in it. But the workforce increased over the years. That is the answer. And to the same thing, it's always voluntary pension plans. In any country, it's voluntary. Yes, your Social Security account, the pension is mandatory, but it's paid as a small tax to the government. But the rest of it is voluntary. As he said, I know what he's talking about, that the people put their money voluntarily.
I hear you, sir. And respectfully, we want to get to one more call at least before we get to the press briefing. So thank you for sharing our thoughts, sir. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Hello, good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, thank you. How are you today?
I'm good, and you? How are you doing?
Oh, excellent, excellent.
I see you're getting an A+ for your social distancing, so that's good.
Ay, ay, ay.
Anyway, I still want to say thanks to you and Susan too for keeping the show alive and keeping it going. You know, you
She's
have to
amazing,
have
man. She's amazing.
Going. You can't just be listening to just one. It's good to have different, shows. Anyways, too bad we don't have TV, but that's okay. We'll get TV after the pandemic.
Listen to radio.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to say, in relation to your discussion regarding pensions, the problem I see with some situations is, when I do my business coaching, I find that little small businesses who've had employees work for them for a short period of time, they paid pensions into their fund, and they're still receiving the letters coming to that business's address with what is available, what pensions are in that fund for that employee who has moved on working for maybe 3 or 4 different companies after that. There's nothing new going into that particular account. But the pension administrators is the issue here because they should be the ones taking the initiative to make sure to check, okay, this employee hasn't worked for you now for the last 2 years, but we're still got a fund here under your plan for them, and we don't know where they are now, and it's the amalgamating of people's money is what needs to be done now, because there are some individuals who have more than one fund from different employers all over the place. And I think that this pension should be should be centralized. That way, when you move around, it can be changed out instantly. You're no longer working for company A, you're now company B, and moved, because people do move around. There are people who've left this country and never even bothered to ask for what pensions they have in the pension funds here with the administrators. So where does that money go at the end of the day? Is that going to the government? Is this money, or is this a gift to the administrators when the individual no longer claims it after they've left the country? I'm very curious about all of that, and I think that the people of this country should know these things. And I totally and 100% agree with the previous caller. Pensions should not even be paid into any private sector administration fund. They should be. The government of the Cayman should have its own national pension commission that deals with everybody's pension. I don't know why we're trying to make all these private sector companies billionaires off our pension money and losing it. You have no control over it. There should be an option that gives you where you can say, I don't want to invest mine. I just want it to be placed on a yearly rollover bank account. Meaning, every year it rolls, every 6 months or 9 months or whatever it rolls over. I don't want to put it in the stock market. Why don't we have that option? Because I can afford to tell you at the end of the day, them administrators ain't gonna have no money to pay nobody. You hear me? There's gonna be a big mess with that. And I think people should have the option to decide whether they want their money invested in stock market, and we know it crap now. So you're gonna lose a lot, and the Premier done alluded to that yesterday in his press briefing. Again, we're losing our own hard money, and nobody cares. Fix the law. Take the foolishness out of it about investing it in stock markets. Let people decide where they want the money to be sitting till they get to retirement. And that option of you being able to take your full money at the end of your retirement should be to your own discretion, not to any legislated law or policy of a pension administrator to pay you one lump sum a year of $12,000 US or $1,000 US a month. Come on, man. That's robbery. That's highway robbery. And it's like what it basically is doing is giving the administrators the opportunity after you've retired to continue to take money from your fund. Then what the whole purpose of it is. The whole purpose of a pension is at the end of your retirement, when you come to retire, you collect your money and you go on about your business. That's what this should be. And I don't see why we even need them to have anything to do with it. If you want it regulated, make the government set up a commission to do it. Make them be the ones that collect this every month. Make the government make the money off of this. Make them private administrators go do something else. Because a lot of them are not being honest with their statements. I know a very good friend of mine was working for one of them, and they fired her when she pointed out all of the thieving that they were doing to the customers. And I can afford to say it because she told me so to my face and also put it in writing to me. And she no longer work there. So there's a lot of not proper things going on with these pension funds and administrators in this country, and we need to look into that. We need an oversight body, Sterling, a very stern oversight body like how the Commissioner of Police is about that curfew. Someone with 10 times his attitude overseeing people's pensions in this country to ensure that there's not one penny or half of a penny or a point of a penny stolen. And
But let me ask then. I hear what you're sharing, but let me ask them from two perspectives. That oversight body, with respect to pensions, looking at the administrators who may be performing or underperforming or whichever, but what about the people who are not contributing, whether employer or employee? Would you want them to also be very vigorous in their oversight?
Well, if that's what they want to do, fine. But I personally feel that micro businesses should not even be subjected to pensions. I think pensions should be voluntary. Why are employers being asked to pay a salary, and on top of a salary, a bonus every month for their employees. We already treat our employees nicely. Why we got constantly bonus every month? Make
I hear
pensions
you.
voluntary.
But if you're looking at pensions as this thing that you're going to get when you're down the road 40 years or so, right? We have the press briefing, but I mean, is that not the idea of the pension? So I hear what you're sharing. Again, like the caller prior, let's pick it up maybe tomorrow or the next day when we have an open line segment.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's press conference on the coronavirus. I'm Donna Bush. Welcome to those of you joining us by broadcast, as well as those on our social media platforms and those listening via Radio Cayman. We now go to a prayer from Pastor Randy Von Cannell.
Let us pray. Lord God, God Almighty, our Father in heaven, we come to you in the name of Jesus. We come as a people looking to you now in the time of this global pandemic and the crisis that's come to our very shores. And as we lead out in this press conference this afternoon, Father, we want to thank you that you love us. That God, out of this past weekend with Holy Week and the Easter weekend, we can thank you that in your great love for us, you sent your son Jesus to die for us. And by the power that is yours alone, you raised him from the dead, and you've offered us life and eternity. And you did it because you love us. You love the world so much. So as I pray here, and I'm joined by all who are coming in on this broadcast, all who are here at the conference, God, we thank you that you do love us, and because you do, we know you care. You care right now about what we're going through. And Father, as we give you that expression of gratitude, I want to thank you for the leaders you've given us, for the governor, for our premier, Father, and how they've led with such wisdom and resolve, strong leadership in time when it was needed most, and we're so grateful. Thank you for their team, the medical persons, the rest of government that has just brought us to this point and are bringing us through. And we are trusting you for that, Father. As we pray for your hand upon us as a people, even on this press conference, that you would superintend it, that what is said here, you would give us ears to hear what you're saying to us through our leaders. But we do pray for the world. I pray for the global family of nations and the leaders of each of those nations, for the peoples of the world who are struggling with the coronavirus. I pray, Father, you would remove this pandemic. You would end it. You would bring healing. Even here, Father, I pray you'd bring healing to those who've been tested positive. I pray you'd bring comfort to the many in the world who've lost loved ones. I pray, God, in line with the scripture of 2 Chronicles 7:14, as we've humbled ourselves and as we're seeking you, I pray, Father, you would heal our land. So we do thank you for all that you're doing. I trust you now. I trust you for the days ahead. I know so many of us are. We look to you, and we'll believe that you will express your love and lead us through, and we're going to give you the praise for it in the name of Jesus. Amen.
And thank you, Pastor Von Cannell. We'd now like to welcome our panelists, His Excellency the Governor, Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, and Minister of Health, the Honourable Dwayne Seymour. Also joining us in our studio, our Chief Medical Officer of Health, the Dr. John Lee, the Commissioner of Police, as well as the Director of HMCI, and of course our sign language interpreter, Ms. Carolyn Powell. We go now first to Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon. I have no routine results to provide for you today. The situation is much as it was yesterday with those people and the reports of the individuals and their health status. The machines at the HSA are going through scheduled maintenance and quality checks today. They have, however, started up the screening of frontline healthcare professionals. As I suggested, I just thought I'd run through the list of people who is going to be screened as part of the first part of this process. All current admissions to the hospitals will be screened. All current inpatients, all staff, frontline healthcare staff, people presenting with respiratory symptoms, or for anyone who has whose healthcare professional has a clinical suspicion that they might have something that is COVID related. Additionally, all inmates at Her Majesty's prisons will be tested as a baseline, and all frontline prison staff as well. I mentioned this as part of the expanded program that we'll be doing for screening, and that expanded program will increase in due course. And alongside that, just to remind you, the information that I said yesterday is that we will no longer be reporting the results. You won't be the first people to hear them at this press conference. They will be sent to the reporting line as they are normally, so they'll be posted in the hospital information system at the HSA. It's called Cerner. The other hospitals have different systems. All be sent out to whichever provider requested the test. Those who are positives will still be contacted, and obviously at the moment those will be contacted by the public health officials or possibly by the provider that requested the test. It depends on the individual circumstances. As far as the hotline is concerned, the flu hotline, the calls continue to drop. There were 16 calls to the flu hotline yesterday and 6 attendees at the flu clinic. So the warmer weather may well be leading to a decrease in the amount of calls on those services. Thank you, Donna.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Also joining us now, of course, are members of the media via Zoom. We go first to Kayla from the Cayman Compass. She has a question for Dr. Lee.
Hi, Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon.
I have one quick question for you, and then I have a couple for Dr. Williams if he's available.
Dr. Williams is not available today, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I might be able to answer it. I'll try.
Okay, all right. So you mentioned that frontline staff are being tested now. Do we expect mass testing to begin soon then?
It has begun already. It was started last week. There are several hundred tests that are going to be going through the system, and I'll report on them in due course. What I intend to do is to give a separate report for the screening test, because essentially you'll understand all of these people are well and they're all also in the working population. So I'll give a separate report on that bunch to the bunch that the people that present with some sort of symptoms, or because a medical professional has got some queries for them, or because they are screened as a part of an isolation in a home.
And I want to clarify on the reporting process now that it has changed. At what point in time would new positives be announced at the press conferences, or is that still going to be the procedure?
Yes, it'll still be the procedure that we will advise every press conference of the number of positives that have come forward. That would still be the process, but I'm going to try and split them into the screening ones and the ones that are done for other public health purposes, to give people a better appreciation of if there's prevalence of COVID-19 undetected in the community.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I'm not sure if this is a question I was going to, I guess either you or Dr. Williams might be able to address. For Caymanians and residents that might have regularly needed medical treatment off island, how are those cases being managed now? How would are they still able to access medical services off island and return?
For some of those people, a lot of them will be attending outpatient appointments where they are being able to be supplemented with telemedicine in the first instance, just as they are on island as well. So I know that some of the overseas providers are providing telemedicine links to some of their patients, and then they can determine the necessity for a physical attendance. I think all of the physical attendances will be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. It's possible that some of the treatments may be available to be provided, for example, in Jamaica, if there's a reason that we can't send them to the US, certainly in the short term. It's possible that in conjunction with an overseas provider, because we do actually have a very broad, broad spectrum of services available on Ireland. In conjunction with an overseas provider, we may be able to provide that service here, provided it's supervised by the overseas provider. So we're trying to find, on an individual basis, what suits that individual patient. The patient's personal doctor will be the person that will need to manage that situation. It's not going to be somebody centrally that manages that. Just as with all healthcare matters, that whoever is the primary referrer would manage that situation and make the decisions. There could be a need that some people will need to get to the States, and these not by air ambulance, so to speak, but basically they'll be able to go under their own steam, and we are thinking about that, and we're thinking about mechanisms by which we'll be able to make that happen.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm thinking about cancer patients that might need certain types of specialized therapy in cases like those.
We're very much thinking about that, and how we're going to be able to achieve that. But as you can see, there are planes coming in all the time, and if somebody needs to get away for treatment, if we can get them to somewhere that can provide it, because we can't provide it here, we will try and make that happen.
Great. And this last question, I think, would be more for Dr. Williams, but we're still getting questions about the schedule for children's vaccines, if that is on track, if families will be contacted soon.
Yes, I think that's more for Dr. Williams. I mean, I know the answer that's been given previously is that they should be contacted. I suspect that if somebody's worried, they should probably reach out to public health and ask them. That would be my recommendation. But for a more in-depth answer, we'd need to ask Dr. Williams.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Now we go to Ralph from Caymanian Times.
Good afternoon, Dr. Lee. I have one question. With positive cases now at 66, which is about 8% of the total tests, how comfortable are you with those patients who have tested positive staying in their own homes at this point?
That's, again, as with many of these things, there are some people who we've asked if they could kindly go to the government facility. For one reason or another, we've been less comfortable with the arrangements. And so there are some people who have been tested positive who have complied with our request and done so. For most people, they're complying really well with our requests, and we have tabs on them, so to speak, not only public health, but we have a broader range of tools and abilities to see if there are any concerns, and we're exercising those tools. But in the main, we're happy with people's compliance.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we now go to Wendy from CNS. Wendy?
Thank you, Donna. I have a couple of questions for Dr. Lee. The first one is just in response to his announcement that they've begun the screening. Can you give us an idea of how many samples have been taken from these people and how many are waiting to be run through the process that we should get results on?
Yeah, so there are, I'm hazarding a guess, around 400 samples that have currently been taken. I would anticipate most of those, the results should be out by the end of this week, because the lab is taking a break, not a break from working, but a break from testing, doing its maintenance things. That clearly there will be a bit of a backlog that they'll need to work through. But it's that sort of order of magnitude. And in the first fortnight, Wendy, we're anticipating that it will be well over 1,000 that we'll be doing.
Okay, great. So far, with the test results that you've actually got, the 700 and odd, have you been able to discern any type of pattern yet as to where those people that have tested positive are? I'm not saying that we want to know where they live. I'm just saying, are we able yet to say we've got a serious amount of people turning up positive in Northside, but we've got nothing in East End, or they're scattered all the way across the island?
They're scattered all across the island. There have definitely been clusters. There's no question about it. There have been some areas that we've known have been linked to a particular event or a particular address for one particular reason or another. So there are definitely, as you saw, the potential we saw the other day in Georgetown at the apartment complex, that didn't actually turn out to be. It's really pleasing that it didn't turn out to be a large cluster, but that's the sort of thing that we've seen in smaller ways, but that it's across the island. Sorry, not plural.
Okay, and the last question is just really just to clarify. Have any curfew breachers ever been tested? do you know that? I don't know whether that might be a question for the commissioner, but
I
it just
definitely
seems
think
to
it's
me
a
that
question for the
if
commissioner.
somebody's breaching curfew, then they do. If they were to be positive, then they're posing a real risk. And so I just wondered if that had been part of because obviously it wouldn't fit the PAHU criteria. So I imagine the answer is no, but I just wanted to check.
We do get queries from time to time from the security services about whether the officers should be concerned, is an individual at risk, and so on and so forth. And we answer the question as with as much information as we needed to give them comfort. But as far as I'm aware, Wendy, there haven't been.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Wendy, and to the rest of the media. We're now going to call on the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Byrne, for his update.
Good afternoon, and very little to report this afternoon. So very quiet overnight, no significant issues of a policing nature occurred. Crime remains very stable and the hard curfew continues to operate well. Overnight on Little Cayman, no issues occurring. Cayman Brack, 10 vehicles stopped, no breaches of curfew detected. Grand Cayman between 6 p.m. and last night and 6 a.m. this morning, 341 vehicles were stopped by police. One driver was found in breach of curfew and warned for prosecution. Since 6 a.m. this morning, there has been a lot of traffic on the roads throughout Grand Cayman. Only one person found in breach of shelter-in-place regulations and issued with a ticket. This morning, our police helicopter performed a medevac of a male patient from Little Cayman to Health City. The transfer went without incident and was not COVID-19 related. This morning, business at supermarkets, banks, pharmacies and gas stations are operating well. They are being well managed and well controlled. Social distancing protocols are being followed, and our helicopter and marine units remain deployed on extended tours, monitoring marine and ground activities. The usual daily reminder: we return to hard curfew at 7 p.m. this evening through to 5 a.m. in the morning. This is a hard curfew, and no persons other than exempted essential services personnel on duty should be out and about away from their homes during these hours. If you are not an exempted essential services personnel, please stay at home. Exercise in public places tomorrow will be from 5:15 a.m. to 6:45 p.m. Tomorrow, public beaches remain in full hard curfew and lockdown. Police mobile and static patrols remain in place across the islands to enforce the curfew and shelter-in-place regulations. Nothing further to report. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Byrne, we have a question from Kayla from the Compass.
Hi, Commissioner.
Kayla.
I wanted to ask about permissions that people have on their designated days by last name. Would business owners be authorized to check in on their properties just to make sure that everything is still there? There's no emergency maintenance that needs to be done.
So the appeal we've made over the last, I think maybe yesterday and maybe late last week, was make contact with us if you have concern. Many businesses have private security in place, so it's pretty easy to find out if the business is intact. For those that don't have private security, contact us and we'll meet you on site if it is your day for being out and about.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. And I wanted to touch on the team from the UK that's coming. I imagine that they'll be working in some capacity alongside RCIPS. Is that the case?
Yes, that's the normal. This would happen annually. We receive a military team in advance of the deployment, normally from Mounts Bay or whichever ship is coming. We come, meet them, discuss logistics, planning, issues of concern, mainly in planning for hurricane season. This year we have the added COVID-19 issues we're discussing. So yeah, it's very much working in collaboration, partnership with them. I've been in touch with all my colleagues from the British Overseas Territories talking about this, and all the territories are looking for assistance just in terms of planning, scenario-based planning, what could happen. We work on a red, green, amber and black system, and we're in amber at the moment, so we have to figure out whether we're moving to red or black. And all this logistics then, sitting down, will tell us where we should be going.
Great. And sorry for my ignorance, but what does amber mean?
It means that the
Which
state...
color?
So exactly what it means when we're looking at it, it's a risk matrix, and it means that we're in a normal state of policing, that we don't move to red where we're experiencing severe impact, and black would means that we're at demands that are at a level where the business as usual cannot be sustained. So we're in amber, we're in normal policing times, crime is stable, policing is stable. Next stage is there's a severe impact on services. We haven't arrived there, but we need to plan for that as part of our risk mitigation, business continuity, contingency planning, and black then is when basically everything fails and we need as much assistance as we can get.
Okay. So yeah, I know there was some concern when this announcement was made that maybe there were security concerns here, but it sounds like from what you've said that this is kind of part of the standard ramp up that would be happening before hurricane season anyway.
I think security is just a global reference to, you know, the range of services that these people can provide, logistics, communications. I will have some issues with my helicopter during the summer period because of servicing, with one being off island, being retrofitted, and the other one having to go for service. And some of the discussions taking place with the visiting team will be how can I use the services they have here to maintain helicopter cover here on island.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Kayla. Now we're going to go to our panel, beginning with the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Donna. Hello, everyone. I have a number of things to talk about today. We've just finished a meeting of the Cabinet, and we are now ready for the meeting of the House, which will begin tomorrow and continue on Thursday. Tomorrow's meeting is one of those unique, never been tried before sort of meetings. We are doing our very best to ensure that we comply with all relevant advice and guidance with respect to physical distancing. So we've worked out an agreement between the government and the official opposition and the other members of the opposition so that we will have 6 of the elected members of the government present in the chamber, along with the Attorney General. And we will have the leader of the opposition and other member of the official opposition, as well as the 2 independent members of the opposition, and then 1 other member of the opposition who will take the chair. And the purpose of that meeting is to recommend to the Standing Orders Committee, which is a committee of the whole House, that standing orders be amended to facilitate the holding of a meeting by electronic means, or in other words, a virtual meeting. So once that has been done and the Standing Orders Committee has agreed the terms of that amendment, the House will then vote in favor, I hope, of it, and His Excellency will be asked to approve the change in standing orders to facilitate a substantive meeting of the House on Thursday, during which we will consider, among other things, the election of a Deputy Speaker, a change in the membership of the Business Committee to reflect other changes that have occurred in the House recently, and amendments to a number of pieces of legislation, all of which I have spoken about in previous press conferences. Amendments to the traffic law, amendments to the labor law, amendments to the national pensions law, and amendments to the Customs and Border Control law. I'm hoping that all of that goes smoothly, as all of the changes that are being proposed with respect to the legislation are necessary to give effect to or to address a number of the concerns which currently arise. I don't know if I need to go into too much detail about those changes again today. I'll leave it and see if members of the press or the public wish me to answer questions, as I've gone through those before. I want to say a few words, if I can find my notes, to Caymanians who are elsewhere than the Cayman Islands during this time of world crisis. We've spent a lot of time talking about Caymanians here and how we can get more Caymanians back here that need to get here. But we really haven't spent much time talking about and addressing or asking ourselves even how Caymanians overseas are coping. And I'm sure many of them may be feeling quite disconnected and perhaps a bit uncared for by us. I just want to make sure on behalf of the government that they know that we are concerned about them and their welfare, and we understand that there may be a whole range of reasons why they are not here or will not be able to come home during this time of crisis, whether it's their job or their education or putting their family at risk, and so many of them are remaining overseas. But we want you to know that we still love and care for all of you, and we want you back home in due course. I also want to say that the Cayman Islands Government Office in the United Kingdom continues to do an incredible job, not only assisting Caymanians over in that part of the world to get home, but they're also on hand to support those who remain in Europe. There are a number of initiatives happening over there, including weekly Zoom calls for Caymanians who may want somewhere to turn or just to hear a friendly Caymanian voice. And I'm also very interested to learn, as I love the kitchen myself, that they're also doing interactive Caymanian culinary Zoom calls about how you cook up some good Cayman food in an overseas kitchen with having to make some creative choices with respect to some ingredients from time to time. So if you are a Caymanian overseas in Europe, please do communicate with the Cayman Islands Government Office over there and join in with the Cayman community things that are going on virtually. I again want to thank Andre Ebanks and his staff in the office in London for the stellar work they have been doing all along, but particularly in this time of crisis, and for supporting our people in the UK and keeping them connected. I also want to finish my little spiel today with a shout out to my girlfriend, who is 102 years old today, Miss Ethel Ebanks. I had the privilege of attending a number of her birthdays, but most recently her 100th birthday. And she was and still is in incredible form. I know this is quite lonely for her because, given her age, she is pretty much all alone, and family and friends would not be able to gather with her today. But there are a lot of people who love her very much, and I'm among them. And it is it is for people like her that we all must stay home and keep Cayman safe. Every life matters. There's an African proverb that says something like this, that anytime an elder dies, a library burns down. And that's really how I think we need to view our elders always. They're an incredible resource. They have lived lives that younger ones will never live, have had experiences that younger ones just will never have. And they enrich us, and they enrich our community. And we must continue to value and preserve those lives. They are as precious as those of younger people.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And let me first of all add my best wishes and birthday celebrations also to Miss Ethel Ebanks on reaching 102. Our very, very best wishes to you on this special day. I just want to make an announcement, first of all, about the British Airways Airbridge, just to confirm that it will arrive next Tuesday. It will depart on Wednesday, 29th of April at 18:05, making a brief stop in the Turks and Caicos to collect passengers there and then returning to London. That plane will be bringing much needed medical equipment, as I have said before, including extraction kits and swabs, and will bring a number of Caymanians back here, as we have said previously. All those who have registered with the emergency travel line will be sent a link to book tickets on that plane. And then we will be sharing the website. It's a new system for booking the tickets this time. We'll be sharing that website with the general public. I hope that will be tomorrow. So there is no need to contact the travel helpline at the present time. And just to confirm again, yesterday I said we will be able to take pets on the flight, and the details of how to do that will be forwarded with the link. Secondly, I want to refer to the announcement that I made yesterday about a small planning team which will be deployed to the Cayman Islands next week, and the Police Commissioner has made some reference to this already today. As I said yesterday, a similar team has already been sent to the Turks and Caicos and has been there for 2 weeks. I've said repeatedly in recent weeks that I believe that our law and order situation is stable. I'm very grateful to the Police Commissioner and everybody for the work they do on that, and I have confidence in our capacity and capability to manage any risks moving forward. But this situation is unprecedented, and all my experience of handling crises underlines the importance of being prepared for any eventuality. So this small military, civilian and logistics team will support us on sensible scenario planning. It will provide expertise and resource to ensure that we are and can manage those risks on curfew handling, the prison, economic and social factors. And I believe this will be a really important resource for us to have at this present time to manage our security needs, the COVID-19 risks, and also to assist on hurricane preparedness, including coordinating with other UK assets in the region. So the team will also have medical and security planners and logisticians who are professional experts who can support us on some of the medical supplies that we are bringing in to the islands. And as I said yesterday, I do think this is a strong signal of UK support. I just want to make 2 other brief comments. First of all, Cayman has an excellent reputation for responding and preparing for disasters, for hurricanes. And we have Danny Coleman here, HMCI, and they have been working incredibly hard in recent weeks. So this team will also help provide some resilience to Danny and her team. And Danny has worked closely with the UK Ministry of Defence for many years in advance of hurricane seasons. And I do want to recall again, last year we had RFA Mounts Bay come to Cayman, landed on the beach with equipment and personnel, and we have 2 Royal Navy ships in the region, and coordinating with those ships is extremely important. And as the Police Commissioner said, we may be able to have some cover from one of those ships as they have helicopters when our own helicopter needs to be off island. And then my final point is just to say that, yet again, our defence regiment, which has 9 officers and was getting itself formed, they have been helping out really well in this crisis so far. The commander has been involved on logistics, and the officers have been involved in some of the back office work. And the team that's coming out from the UK will be able to work closely with the regiment, and the regiment will liaise with them and support them. So that will also bring us some medium and longer term benefits as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Minister of Health.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone. In Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman. I was also asked to acknowledge the Caymanian diaspora around the world listening in. Thank you for listening. Also want to express my birthday wishes to the young lady, 102 years old, Miss Ethel. Happy birthday to you. Scripture reading today comes from Joshua 1:9. Have not I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord our God will be with you wherever you go. In our efforts to have people stay home, which is one of the main ways to keep this disease from spreading, in Portuguese, meaning in honor of Brazil and Portugal.
See where you know this now. I know a little bit Portuguese.
Por favor, fique em casa.
That was good.
Yeah.
Certo.
Gracias. Gratis. And in Indonesian, tolong tinggal di rumah. I thank you. I want to shout out all those companies who are delivering groceries and supplies. What you're doing is so important, especially with the taxis and the public transport being suspended. I thank you very much for delivering to especially the needy and to the elderly. It's very important that we take care of this community. All of what we're doing here is so that something doesn't actually happen. So it may seem a little harsh, but it will pay off in the end, as we've been saying. It's some pain for more gain a little later. And I know there's a lot of questions been coming in, a lot of calls we've been getting. The government, everyone has an idea of how, the government should be handling certain things. And a lot of, I actually, I ask you to continue calling and continue sending the messages, because as you've seen, a lot of the suggestions that you put forward has been used, but not everything that you suggest, because there's a lot of things that we have to put in consideration when we're making decisions as to what we do moving forward, especially in this time, as the governor mentioned, unprecedented times. And we're human, and albeit we have our technocrats and we get advice from not only here but around the world, and we try to make the best decision possible, whether that's pensions or otherwise. And we ask you to pray for us continuously. And what you may appreciate is that when you hear us make a decision, and normally the decisions that we make are for 2-week bans, but it's not permanent, and it's a fluid situation, and we won't be able to please everyone. Nothing anyone has ever done in the world has pleased everyone, not even Jesus. So we understand that people will have concerns. There are things out there that we never thought of, that things that we didn't think of, that are affecting you at home, and you please ensure that you call someone, call one of the numbers that we put out there for you to get the necessary help, the necessary attention that is needed, for us to look at your situation, or if there's a group out there that we missed out, reach out to us in the spirit of us trying to find a way forward, not in a vexatious spirit, but in a spirit of unity and love, of us trying to help you find a way forward. The police isn't going to always get it right. They're also human beings, but they try. And, the commissioner is here, always talks about common sense approach and, trying to help understand, what you're dealing with out there. So I thank you for all the support that you've been given the government and all the frontline workers out there. In fact, when you come to a roadblock, just say thank you to the police officers, to the frontline workers, the CBC workers. Say thank you to them all. Say thank you to the cashiers at the supermarkets who put their lives on the line every day to serve you. These people have families too, and their families need them. So let's say thank you to them. Give them a smile. Let them smile also. So, also saddened to hear that Reshma's, who's normally with us, she had a close family member passed away. We express our condolences to you, Reshma. Also, Premier had mentioned about the pension fund, and we've been getting a lot of concerns and a lot of questions about the pension fund. And we want to say, if you don't need it, don't use it. For those who need it, ensure that it goes to good use. You don't want to be looking back 1 year from now and shoulda, woulda, and think about how you could have used it much more wisely. We don't know how long this coronavirus is going to last. We don't know if it's going to spur up again. So you need to be very wise about your spending, even if you get a big payout from your pension fund. Please use it very wisely. And also remember that if you get the money, you don't have to use it. You can actually put it right back in to your pension fund. So that's, everyone have their own situation. Everybody know what they're facing. But I'd say to you that these are some of the considerations when you're talking about whether you need to take from the fund or not. Questions to ask yourself is, if you're unemployed, it's suggested to take the pension fund, because you will need it to survive, and you only can get so much from NAU. If you're laid off, you probably need to take it. If you're in the tourism industry, it's probably a good reason, again. If your business is closed due to COVID-19 measures done by the government to save lives, then you probably need to take it. If your livelihood depends on opening of any of the ports, the airport, the seaport, you probably need to take it. If your business is still going, but 90% of your business is lost, then you probably need to take it also. These are some of the considerations that we are trying to reach people that actually need it. If you don't need it, don't use it. If you're still employed and your household is still employed, don't take it. This is only my suggestion. I don't know your situation, but later down the road, you might regret using it at a time when you didn't need to take it. So I am all for using the pension fund. for this time because it's in a need. It's a need. And what I don't want is for people's lives to be lost because of starvation and hunger. So I understand that some people need an injection of cash. So I'm just saying to you, be wise. Be wise about it. The chief medical officer mentioned earlier today that the expanded testing regimen has started. This is great news for Cayman. The government will be better able to make plans with more understanding of how our community is being affected by this coronavirus. As the saying goes, being forewarned is being forearmed. And this is only the first stage of testing. As time goes on, the plans will expand to include more of the community, including people who face the public on a daily basis, like supermarket workers. It has been a collaborative effort between the private and public doctors and nurses from both primary care and the hospitals. I applaud the approach against this national threat. There are some key players who have really been instrumental in this fight, some better known, others less known. I thank you all. I just wanted to mention a fact that you might not know. In our laboratories, we have not one PCR machine, but 4. 3 at the HSA, including a new one about to be commissioned, and 1 at Doctors Hospital. We also have 6 biosafety cabinets available to test for COVID-19 across the 3 hospitals, 2 of which are new and soon to be commissioned. We have also been working diligently with the Cayman Islands Red Cross and volunteers to make masks and in turn give them to essential frontline workers, staff, including police and prison officers. The goal is to make 4,000 masks, and last Friday we were able to give 350 of them to frontline staff. I want to thank Dr. Lee for encouraging this initiative. Cayman Islands Red Cross, its 100 volunteers and everyone who has been involved in bringing forward this initiative to produce these masks locally. Let me take this opportunity to remind people that wearing masks in public is only an added layer of protection from the coronavirus. Still need your 6 feet social distancing. Must all still be aware of the limitation of masks. We do not want you to get complacent and have a false sense of security of masks alone. Staying at home is the best form of defense. But when you do have to go into public spaces, wearing a mask along with using your social distancing, staying 6 feet away from each other, and practicing constant hand washing hygiene will be the most effective way to help us reduce the risk of contracting this disease, especially now that we know there is a community spread. In fact, I'd say to you, in my humble opinion, that wearing masks and social distancing and washing hands for hand washing hygiene will be here to stay for some time, if I'm being honest. Remember, 6 feet to save lives and staying home is Cayman kind. I thank you and God bless.
Donna, could I just come in very briefly?
Absolutely.
Just before we go to press, just to say that we quite rightly celebrated Miss Ethel Jones' birthday today, but it is also Her Majesty the Queen's birthday today. I think we're used to celebrating that in June, but her actual birthday is in April. So I'm sure everyone on the islands will join me in wishing Her Majesty the Queen a happy birthday as well.
Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you to the panel. We're going to go to question time now with the media. We're going to begin with Felicia over at Radio Cayman. Felicia?
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for the Premier. As the restrictions continue, a number of people have asked for your assistance to help them through this time by providing greater access to things that will make it easier for them to stay home. For example, the ability to order items to prepare for the upcoming hurricane season, or to work on their properties, create food gardens, etc. They've cited that the fact that the alcohol access, it's easy to get to it, but it's not easy for them to get access to a hammer and nails to repair a leaky roof. Many people are cooperating and do see the bigger picture, but they just feel that it would be easier for them to stay home if it was just easier to get access to some of these items. Is there any possibility of compromise that will accommodate both needs?
We haven't worked that out. Actually, opening more stores is not going to cause people to stay home more. It's going to cause more people to be on the road and congregating. We are at a very critical point in assessment of this crisis. You would have heard Dr. Lee say we are in the process of mass testing now, and there are some 400 plus tests awaiting, or samples awaiting testing. I would venture to say that by this time next week, we will have a very good idea of the prevalence of this virus in the community. I remain hopeful and indeed prayerful that we are not in to sustain community transmission. If we are, the last thing we want to do is to be opening more places for people to congregate and for the opportunity, or for further opportunity for community transmission of the virus. So if I can just ask everyone to remain patient. Believe you me, I know it's very stressful, it's very frustrating. There are lots of things I would like to do, lots of places I would like to be too, but I just can't. None of us can, because it's just not available. But it would be senseless if all the efforts, all the sacrifices, all the frustrations that as a community we have gone through and are still going through were to be for naught, because we made a wrong decision at the wrong time to start opening up the community and increase the chances for community transmission of the virus. If the tests indicate to us that while there is transmission and while there are cases, it is not widespread, we can then start to look at what areas we can ease some of these restrictions on. But as I think everyone who's paying attention would see, in countries where they have eased the restrictions too early, they're all facing a second wave of infections. And in two instances, they've had to shut back down, lock back down to save lives. So far, we've only have the one life that was lost, which was an imported case. We really would like to keep it that way.
Thank you.
Okay,
Premier.
thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, we're going to move now to Ralph from the Caymanian Times. Ralph?
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Premier. My questions are for you, and I say good afternoon to the rest of the panel as well. The last answer that you gave actually covered one of my questions. But just to add to that, we are seeing a significant level of preparation by law enforcement for the hurricane season. Have the other areas of hazard management started to consider making similar preparations for the upcoming hurricane season, taking into consideration that we may still be in a curfew at that time?
Well, we have Danny Coleman, the director of hazard management here, so she can answer that question.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ralph, for that question. Hazard management is working very closely with Public Works Department to identify more public shelters. Obviously, we've got quite a task on our hands with shelter capacity increasing. What we currently have is 8% of the population in Grand Cayman. So we now have to look at shelters with COVID in mind and social distancing in mind. So it's quite a big task, but we're doing that. And again, we're working on inventory supplies as well. So hazard management is working very closely on the hurricane preparedness, and we'll be doing a lot more messaging coming up soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thank you. My second question and last question for the Premier is, we've been attending these press briefings over 4 weeks now, and I've heard your pleas to the community. Do you believe that the major portion or the majority of the residents here are really taking your warnings and recommendations and orders seriously?
Yes, I do. Although I have to add that we still receive, even from people who are taking it very, very seriously, as the question by Felicia just now indicated, there are still lots of people who feel that they should have access to a lot of things, and I understand. And they seem not to appreciate that precisely what they would like to do significantly increases the risk of them contracting the disease. Anytime you go into a closed space with other people, you have significantly increased your chances of contracting the virus if there's someone in there that does have it. The only way that you can ensure that you don't get it is to stay away from other people. And people still want their creature comforts, still want, especially their home. I understand they're bored, they want to do some work on their house that they haven't got done, and now they're home, they think they can do it, but they can't get access to the things they need. Believe you me, I understand all of those frustrations. But we really need to get a better grasp of where the virus, the extent to which the virus is in the community, before we can safely make decisions opening up things more than they currently are.
Thank you. So just to confirm, the results from Dr. Lee and his team will significantly impact the decision going forward.
Absolutely. As he said, by this time next week, they should have taken more than 1,000 samples. Quite how many of those they'll have processed, I can't say, but there will be a significant number. And I think because we're dealing with frontline staff, we should start to get a real indication of the prevalence of the virus in the community. One of the great fears, and I'll confess this, that I have, is that a significant percentage of people who do contract the virus are asymptomatic. And as I've said more than once, in many cases, they won't even know they have it. But they pass it on to other people, and some people really react very badly to it. The only way to know if an asymptomatic person has it is to do a test. So we are testing now, not just those people who present with symptoms or concerns that they might have it because they are a contact of someone that they know has it. So there's that category, but now we are testing people who are, to all intents and purposes, certainly on the face of it, asymptomatic, healthy people who are part of the workforce and in the front line. So we believe that will give us a pretty good idea of where we are in terms of risk and allow us to make assessments about what we can or what we should and should not be doing in terms of further or restricting or lessening the restrictions on movement of people.
Thank you very much. That's it for me, Donna.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to move on to Wendy from CNS. Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you, Donna. I've got some questions for the Premier. Have you got an idea in mind, Premier, of the number of that you would like to see of frontline workers that would make you feel that you had a really strong handle on the spread?
Well, I think we're looking. Dr. Lee, is he still here?
Yeah, he sure is.
I think Dr. Lee is better able to answer that than me because we are guided by the medical advice on these things. So.
Hi, Wendy.
Thanks, Dr. Lee.
We clearly we're doing the people who are front-facing initially, but we're thinking about even larger surveys. Whether we might look at a proportion of the whole of the construction industry, for example. We haven't yet begun having discussions, but or whether we should look at a population-wide survey. These are the sorts of things we're thinking about. It's the sorts of things that you'll see being discussed around the world as the best way to try and get a handle on it. I think but we're waiting to see what the initial results of the first screenings show to really guide us as to how much further effort to put into this and in which particular direction we should go. We have not yet got a hard and fast protocol for what the future testing will be, but there are lots of the things that I've just discussed we're thinking about.
So when, if I might add to that in my unscientific way, the current testing is the results are showing about somewhere around 8-9% positive result with respect to the tests. And I know a number of people, because I've had the correspondence, the messages, are extrapolating that across the entire population and saying, oh, we're really in trouble because if that is, as we believe, they say, if that is representative of the spread of the virus through the community, we're really in trouble. I don't think that is representative, because all of the people who have been tested have either been symptomatic or contacts of people who were symptomatic. So I would have actually expected that number to be higher, to be truthful. But then again, I'm no scientist. So a broader sampling of people who are, at least on first blush, healthy, I think will give us a better indication of the likely incidence of the virus in the broader community. Dr. Lee, if I got that wrong, please correct me.
Before Wendy moves on, I actually have a question for Dr. Lee from the public. It relates to those persons in the public who may have had, let's say, their annual flu shot, and persons would like to know whether there's a correlation between the getting the flu shot and getting the test for COVID, and whether there could be some kind of a link for persons who getting COVID who may have had the flu shot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know of any link of that kind. I also wouldn't see how that would happen. I wouldn't, and I've not heard or read of any sort of a link between that. I had the flu shot.
Okay, and you're good.
Well,
thank you very much. Dr. Lee, thank you for that. Wendy, you can continue, please.
Oh, yeah, thanks for that. I'm moving on now to the pensions. We've had a few people contact us today, and it appears that some pension fund companies are going to make people wait for 60 days, I mean, effectively 2 months, before they can touch their money. Is there anything you can do about that? Because I think some people are probably going to find that a little bit hard.
No, if they do that, they'll be in breach of the law. The law says they have to do it. It's 45 plus 7 days for the application. 45 days, they've got to pay the money out. So that's
you said 4 to 5 days there, not 45.
45. I've got the bill here with me, but yes, it's 45 days.
So it's still like a month and a half then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have to remember now there are likely to be significant numbers of applications, and they got to be processed and validated, processed, validated, and then checks cut. So.
Okay. So that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only other one was a small sort of technical query. Some people who have changed jobs recently now are in a situation where they actually have 2 pensions, which is one that they've maybe only paid in for a few months, and then another one that they might have paid into for years. Will they be able to access the bigger one?
I would have thought so. The law the amendment doesn't make any distinction between various accounts. So it says that you,
right.
And I know they meant some. I know of one person that has 4 different accounts at 4 different pension providers. So because of their work history, right? So that sort of logistical administrative stuff they'll have to work out between themselves. But I would have thought it was the aggregate sum that would determine how much they can actually take out.
Okay. Thank you. I have just one question remaining for Minister Seymour, which is about when tomorrow is Earth Day. So it just seems appropriate because this question's come up a lot, and it's perhaps not the most important thing ever, but it is still an issue that people are concerned about. What's happening regarding recycling?
Yes, we know tomorrow's Earth Day, and the chief officer has already contacted me about that, so I should have more to say about that tomorrow. And the recycling, only paused because of coronavirus. I've asked my the policy officers to communicate with the committee that we had going. We had the committee going and had to end abruptly because of coronavirus. I've asked them to communicate with them to let them know that even though we weren't meeting because of coronavirus, that we had enough information for us to continue working on a paper for us to get something to caucus and cabinet. I think we had we had done a press release with enough information for us to be able to continue. So I'm hopeful. As you know, the building is almost empty. Most people are working from home, but I pray that they're still working on that also.
I assume you're talking about the plastic. Actually, what I was thinking about was the day-to-day recycling that we used to do. Has that completely stopped now? Like people used to drop their stuff off at the supermarket.
No, everything continues as normal. If,
Right,
if someone is getting, if someone has found out that recycling bins are overfilled or whatever it is, just please let me know, so I can let the director know where he needs to pay attention to.
Okay, so the stuff is still going off. Fine, it's going through the process that it always did and going off to wherever it goes to.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And if there's any changes, I will let you know tomorrow.
Thanks very much. I've got all that.
Okay, I'm
done. Thanks, Donna.
Okay, no worries. We're going to go back to Kayla. Kayla?
Hi there. I'll try to make my questions quick because I know the public is getting restless. My first question is for the Premier regarding the employment situation. Since the lockdown measures seem to that they'll be in place for a while longer, what are we projecting the unemployment situation to be like, say, by May 1st, May 15th, if these measures continue?
Well, no tourists are coming back anytime soon. What we are hoping is, as I've said, is that the testing results will allow us to slowly reopen aspects of the local economy, particularly construction. I would desperately like to see the NRA back out there working at the roads while the traffic is so slow.
Yep.
But again, all of that will have to be guided by the degree to which the results indicate the virus is present in the broader community. So it's very difficult to make those decisions now until we get those results. But we're going to focus, and that's one of the reasons why we've taken what some may consider a pretty drastic step in freeing up a significant amount of pensions money and putting it in people's hands. We're trying to keep small businesses open, to give them hope that they have access to some funds, that they can keep staff employed, and get construction in particular moving again, because most of those projects, and probably all of those projects, have money approved and available, and the workers are generally still here, so that we can start getting as much of the domestic economy back working as we possibly can, while we try to figure out how we address the thousands of people who no longer have hospitality jobs. Financial services still seems to be doing reasonably well. There had been some rumors of some layoffs. I haven't had any confirmations, but I think our indications so far are that despite the global upheavals, financial services is still holding its own. How long that will continue, I can't but guess, because what's happening in the rest of the world, is what drives the demand for the services that our industry here provides. So I'm hoping to get a clearer steer on that over the course of this week as well, what their current projections are. I know the minister had a Zoom meeting with them, with industry, a couple of weeks ago, and up until then things were still, moving along fairly well. But things are generally not getting better in the rest of the world.
Do you have an estimate of how many jobs on island have already been lost and where unemployment stands currently?
No, I don't have those numbers. I'd be guessing, and I'm not even sure I can guess properly. But we hope to have a clearer steer on that. As I say, just about all hospitality jobs are gone, at least some temporarily, we hope, because even the restaurants that are operating at reduced levels. And obviously all the bars are closed, all the hotels are closed, all of the tours are closed. So that would be significant.
Of course. And you mentioned earlier about being hopeful that NRA workers might be able to get back to work at a certain point. Is there a draft plan that's being explored to see how we might slowly reopen certain sectors?
Well, it'd be a bit of a stretch to say there was a draft plan, but there's certainly discussions going on around what areas would pose the least risk, because while no one has done this successfully yet, there are lots of lessons to be learned about what has happened and what's happening in other countries as they try to reopen. One country that we've learned a lesson already, and we've moved on, is we're not following what the United States is doing.
Yeah. And we're hearing from some of the Nicaraguans who are stuck here that they've gotten some word that they were able to present an official letter of some sort. Their reentrance to the country might be considered. Is there any update to their situation?
If I could come in on that. No, I don't think there is any update. I mean, I've spoken 3 times to the foreign minister, and they are still saying the position remains the same, but they hope that when the situation improves, they will be able to allow those flights to proceed, but we can't send those planes at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Governor. And one just small last question about pensions. Of course, lots of people have questions about that. Would former civil servants who are now unemployed, maybe they went to the private sector and have now lost their jobs, would they be able to access their pensions?
Their private sector pensions, yes.
Okay, but not the pensions they had with government.
No, they're 2 very separate, distinct pieces of legislation. The National Pensions Law governs pensions within the private sector. Some statutory authorities and government-owned companies do subscribe to them. They will not be able to access the accounts which were created as a result of their employment by the statutory authority or government-owned company, because public servants are not being permitted to withdraw from those accounts. I forget what the other pension law, I think it's called the Public Service Pensions Law, governs pensions for the public service. Those are not under the remit of the elected government, but under the remit of His Excellency. As an important element of the overall civil service operations. And the view, as I expressed yesterday, the view is very firmly that the civil servants are not being laid off. Civil servants are not being asked to take a cut in salary. Civil servants, including those of government-owned or public servants of statutory authorities and government-owned companies, all got a 5% increase with effect from the 1st of January. There is, as we can see it, no logical basis on which we should give access, allow access to public service pensions at this stage. We need everyone to understand that we are in the middle of, we're not in the middle, we're at the start, really, of a global public health and economic crisis on a scale which no one living has ever really known or experienced. We don't know how long it's going to last. And people, everybody, including government, needs to think that we are likely to be in this situation until about this time next year. So if government winds up in really, really dire straits, notwithstanding all efforts that we are making, including pursuing a line of credit, and is forced down the road of having to cut salaries of civil servants, but you've used up the opportunities to have access to your pension funds, we will be, as my late father used to say, really in a hell of a hobble. So let's not operate on the basis that this is going to go away in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Even if we contain the virus, the economic repercussions are going to resonate for, quite frankly, years to come. So we need to be prudent and thoughtful and careful and frugal about how we are spending our money, governments and our own. Because, as I said, we just have no idea how long this is going to go on. So that's why we've limited what can be taken from the private sector's pension funds to 25%, because there may be a need further down the road to go back at it again. So, and people don't have to rush. If you don't need the money now, this is in place until the private sector provisions, until November. If you don't need the money now, leave it. It's not going anywhere. And then you can decide, do I need to access it or do I not if things get worse for me? Or even if you decide that you don't want to take the risk with the market and you want to withdraw it, put it aside if you don't need to spend it now, because this is going to be not just a long, hot, hard summer, but an autumn and winter too.
Thank you for that answer. That's all I have.
Okay, I believe the Minister of Health has words to say.
Yeah, just I wanted to recognize DG and his team for giving the second chances, second chance to inmates who are turning their lives around. I want to thank him and the team for this, and also wanted to send a shout out to the command team at the RCIP, working very hard. Also wanted to mention that a very astute Caymanian businessman, Mr. Marshall Levy, passed on, and wanted to give his condolences to him and his family, especially his wife and his children, and Harry. Also wanted to note that as a government, we will need to do something about the lines at the banks. I'm getting inundated with WhatsApps and emails and all over the place. Someone stood in line this morning for 3.5 hours, and that was almost 1 o'clock, so they didn't get through. So it's here upon us, and we have to extend the hours. I just wanted to mention that's something that us as a government need to continuously converse with the banks and try to get them to to extend the hours. I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Before we wrap up, I'm going to go back to the Honorable Premier so he can give another special shout out to this resident of ours, this Caymanian woman who is, has lived to see many more years than most of us will probably ever get to see. Premier, if you could just give another shout out to Miss Ethel.
Miss Ethel, in case you didn't hear me the first time, I just want to, on behalf of myself, my family, the government, to wish you a happy 102nd birthday.
All right.
I know you don't have your usual friends and family around you. Like the rest of us, you are being forced to physically distance, but you are in our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers on this special day. Keep strong.
Thank you very much, Premier McLaughlin. Before we go, a reminder again to go online to gov.ky/coronavirus, as well as to eservices.gov.ky for answers to your many pressing issues and concerns there. I'd like to thank everyone who's made today's press briefing possible, and of course to you, the public, for joining us again for another press briefing. We invite you to join us again tomorrow. And coming up, we invite you to take a look at today's worldwide and regional statistics on the coronavirus. We'll see you back here again tomorrow.